Awesome. No audio difficulties this time. You'll love to see it. Anyways, what's up, watchers? Welcome back. It's good to see you again. So I made a big deal last week about how, or not last week, but the weekend before, made a big old deal about how I wasn't going to cancel my stream last weekend, and I was gonna do my best to make it, and this and that. And then I canceled it. I know. I didn't want to do it either. So what happened is, so I was going to visit my parents for Mother's Day weekend, and I thought, okay, well, I haven't really heard any big plans or anything, you know, like, odds are I'm going to be spending most of it at the house, I'm going to be relaxing, I'm not going to be doing all that much, so I can probably still stream on Sunday, depending on when my brother's able to, like, drive me back to my apartment, because that was, like, the only real concern about that plan. And then the weekend actually happened, and my mom was like, on the Saturday, was like, hey, you want to go on a drive for an hour to go to this, like, other small town so we can pick up something for your grandmother a little bit last minute? We're gonna be gone for the whole day. And I was like, I see. I did not prepare properly for this weekend. Yeah, we did a lot of going out shopping and walking around places and just generally hanging out with my family, and by the time I got back on Sunday, I was like, you know what? I can't do it. I wanted to not break my promise so bad, but I got home on Sunday at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was like, oh, the thought of talking to people right now makes me want to throw up. That's not a good mindset to go into streaming with. And it's also not a mindset I want to have for the rest of my work week, so yeah, I ended up just buying Vampire Survivors and zoning out for like 6 hours straight instead. And I'm glad that I did, to be honest, because, okay, so I've mentioned before that now I work at a lab, and we do a lot of soil and water testing, and we have this computer system that makes it very easy for us to categorize all of our different samples, makes it easy for the analysts to know what they need to work on and what to do when, and it also helps with any sister labs that we work with on a regular basis to make sure that we're all doing, like, the same thing, we have the same codes, all of that. So, my Monday last week was very normal. Got everywhere I needed to, came back, was feeling good. Put together a garden, that's another thing, I garden now. I've always had plants on my balcony specifically, because a certain someone, who I will not name, but her name does start with a V and ends with an A, I have a little cat who loves to eat plants. So I kind of have to wait until I can put stuff out on the balcony to grow plants. So normally I only have like 1 or 2 things, but last year I got a vertical garden from my family for, I think it was Easter. And this year I really wanted to use it. Last year I didn't have the energy or the time to, so I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm not getting plants if I can't look after them. This year, I'm in a much better place. So, put together, I bought a bunch of the plants on Sunday with my mom, and then, Monday I ended up putting them all into, like, their proper planters and stuff. It looks very nice. I can't share any pictures of it because there is no way for me to take a picture of the vertical garden and not have, like, something that gives away my location off the edge of the balcony. I get paranoid about these things. This is why I don't even take selfies of myself. Like, I think there is 1 picture of my real-life face on the internet. Actually, no, there are a total of 3, I think. And that's it. I don't like taking selfies. I don't like anything that where it's like, oh, people could tell where I live because of this. Anyways, my paranoia aside, anyway, so Monday was normal. I even did the gardening stuff. I spent like an hour, hour and a half out on my balcony just basically playing with dirt and getting everything that I bought planted. And then Tuesday happened. And Tuesday also started normal. And then at around noon, we were told, oh yeah, the computer system is going down for about 20 minutes for some routine maintenance. And then 20 minutes turned into 30. Then 40. Then 1 hour. Then 2 hours. And by the end of the day, it still hadn't come back. And we ended up learning a little while later that, yeah, it might not be back until this Tuesday. So it's been a weird fucking week at my work. It's been a lot of just trying to figure out, like, a new system for these things. Or for all of the things that we usually had the computer system for. Sorry, I am bad at wording things today. I feel like my brain is still, like, partially gooified from just the last 2 weeks. Like, it's not even that the week before Mother's Day was all that easy, because there were multiple days that were so busy that I had to skip either my morning or my afternoon break. And then that happened again this week. Like, I think it was Wednesday I had to skip my afternoon break. And by the end of the day, I was a fucking zombie. Pretty much the only reason why I feel good enough to stream today is just because I had all yesterday to do absolutely fuck all and not talk to people. That's the only reason why I'm here right now. And speaking of which, it is probably going to be a bit of a shorter one. Like, I know I say that and then I go until 9 o'clock anyways, but in this case, it's not so much in like, oh, I have something I need to do at like 8:30, we're going to have to cut it short. It's more like, if there's like a natural point for me to end the stream at around like 8 o'clock, 8:30ish, I'm gonna take it. If not, then I'll go till 9, who cares? It is also the long weekend in Canada, so it is Victoria Day weekend. And I'm very fucking glad. I'm so glad that after the last week, I can just have a 3-day weekend and then a 4-day week next week. Oh, man. Yeah, oh, also, extra thing that I forgot to mention. So one of the things I did on the weekend was, or last weekend, I should say, is I went to a flea market that I used to go to a lot in, like, 2019-ish, back when I used to work at Tim Hortons. And one of the things that I would do is if I was working a Sunday, I would, like, it was a bit out of the way, but I would drive out to this flea market because there was one booth there that was run by an elderly couple where they just have, like, handmade doll furniture and doll houses. And I had not been back there since 2019. Yay, we love fleas! We sure do, 100th Assassin. Welcome to the stream. So I went back there because I was like, I just need to know if this booth is still open. It was. Well, yay, we love used to loving Tim Hortons. It's true. They kind of went to shit. Speaking of things going to shit, I did buy a little armchair from the dollhouse booth, and it was very, very cute. And then either I knocked it off the desk or Vesta did. I don't remember which one of us is at fault, but yeah, it fucking broke. And now I need to go and hot glue it together after the stream is done. But let's not worry about that. Right now, all we have to worry about is the time travel shenanigans that we're gonna be seeing in just a couple seconds as soon as I get the game booted up and also switch the scene over. Yeah, this is gonna be a bit of a disjointed one, I think. The perks of going into a stream with, like, 30% social battery. At least it's not as bad as, Friday. Friday was bad for me being able to actually fucking speak. I was on the phone with my grandma and my mom, and have you ever felt like you're just brute forcing a conversation? Like, not in the sense of, like, you're trying to keep the conversation afloat by yourself, but more in the sense of, like, I know what I'm trying to say. I can't piece the words together properly, so I'm just gonna say whatever the fuck and hope that my intention gets across anyways. It was one of those days. And I feel like I'm still kind of on that right now, but... Okay, so... Last time... I think that we saw a bunch of scenes that we'd already seen before. We did see Daru and Yuki's failed date. That happened again. This is a canon event, I guess. At least in this side of the timeline. Who knows? Is that going to be the main difference between, like, this particular timeline and the other one, the one that I got the original ending on? Speaking of 30% social battery, back from an anime convention and had the chance to see Akio Watanabe. Awesome. I don't know who that is, I'll be honest. Is it bad that be more of a weeb is a goal that I'm actually trying to achieve right now? I need to watch more anime. I need to just, I don't know, consume more media. But then again, I feel like I say that, like, every stream. Or at least regularly enough. They may have done some art for Steins Gate. Ah, hell yeah! Alright, cool. Yeah, I'm not good at keeping up with, like, the names of people who work on certain projects, especially as, like, artists. Whenever it comes to, like, creative directors and stuff, you know, those I can remember pretty well. But artists and voice actors, I do not remember their names most of the time. It sucks. But yeah, so, the main thing that, we got from the last stream is, first off, last time, Maho was involved in the story, like, basically involved in the ending, because, she had been brainwashed by Dr. Leskinen, and, the other lady, I don't remember her name at this point. If anime does not want to be easily accessible, then why keep up with them? Well, the thing is, I have a Crunchyroll subscription. I have so much anime that I could be watching, and I watch, like, I don't know, like, one episode every month. It's like, that doesn't make up for the cost of the fucking subscription. I need to watch more anime. I need to become more of a weeb. But yeah, so this time Maho is here of her own volition, because she has been helping Daru and Suzuha reconstruct the time leap machine. And Okabe was not very happy to find out about it. Is it perhaps that Crunchyroll's streaming site is awful? No, it's literally just that I'm bad at watching TV shows. Somehow. The thing is, like, I will watch a few episodes of a show and be like, oh yeah, that was really good. I should go watch more of it tomorrow. And then tomorrow ends up being 6 months down the line. I don't even know what it is, because I will sit and scroll through YouTube before every single meal for like 10 minutes before I find something that I want to watch, and it's like, I could just be watching the next episode of the show that I'm already watching, that I'm already interested in. Why do I never think of this in the moment? But yeah, at the end of the scene where this all gets discovered and Okabe gets real upset, understandably so, about the fact that people are trying to put back together the time machine that kind of ruined his fucking life. You know how in my playthrough of the first game I kept telling people to close the fucking window? Yeah, they didn't do that. Mayuri heard everything, and Okabe's been trying very hard to keep her out of the loop. So, this could either go really good or really badly. It's the whole work-life balance and homeostasis thing getting in the way. Yeah, that's probably it, to be honest. It's like, at this point, I'm just so used to watching YouTube whenever I eat that it doesn't even cross my mind until after I'm done eating, like, hey, I could have been watching a TV show. I didn't have to rewatch this video essay on Danganronpa for the 3rd time in a row. Not in a row, but anyways. For someone who keeps saying, like, oh, this is gonna be a shorter stream, I sure do love rambling before we even get to the fucking VN. Let's just jump right into it. Alright. The summer solstice had passed, and by 6 p.m., the sun was finally setting behind the city's skyline. Part of the sky was still red, and the rest a dirty blue. For the past few days, Suzuha had worked on the time machine on top of the radio building. It was almost time for her to go back to the past, which meant she was putting a lot more effort into the maintenance work. Parts which could normally get dirty with no trouble had been polished to a sparkling shine. She finished her work, put her tools back in the box, and stored the box in the time machine's cockpit. Then she sat down in the control seat and took another look at the battery gauge. With the amount of fuel she had left, in less than a month she wouldn't be able to go back to July 27th, 2010. She had to leave this era before that time limit passed her by. The original plan of taking Rintaro to the past looked like it was going to fail. That meant she would have to go on the mission that she'd spent the last year coming up with all by herself. More importantly, the director of Studio Pili knows my face and its sinister intent as I threatened to give her $20 all weekend. Awesome. She chuckled to herself and stuck her hand deep into the computer core. Inside was an external hard drive that clearly belonged to 2011, not 2036. Itaru had probably put it here when her back was turned. One of the secondary touch panel monitors was displaying a warning that read, "Foreign object detected in cockpit." These machines were capable of breaking through early 21st century camouflage in less than a second. It was clear from the way fake wires were laid out that monitoring data and data retrieval were not its objectives. He'd probably hidden it here because he didn't want anyone to find it. Maybe she should just pretend she didn't see it, and leave it here until she was just about to leave. As she pondered the best course of action, she heard the heavy door outside opening.
Oh.
Someone was here. Suzuha pulled her gun from its holster and looked out from the cockpit, towards the iron door that led into the building. She still remembered what happened with Kagari the other day. It couldn't hurt to be careful. But when she saw who it was, she relaxed. Is it Mayuri? Yep.
Mayu-ne-san. 珍しいね。ここへ来るなんて。
She put her gun away and jumped out of the cockpit to welcome her.
すずさん。お？泣いてるの？何があった？
Suzuha had no idea why the always smiling Mayuri would be crying.
どうしてみんなは教えてくれなかったのかな。え？クリスさんっていう人とマユシーとの本当のこと教えてくれなかったのかな。
Yeah. Yeah, you know the truth. She almost spoke, but quickly cut herself off. How did she hear, and from whom, the cruel truth that Mayuri's survival depended on Kurisu Makise's death? There was nothing in the world Suzuha had wanted to see less than the look on Mayuri's face when she discovered that.
誰に聞いたの？
But there were only a few people who knew the truth. Excluding herself, only Rintaro, Itaru, Ferris and Maho. And none of them would deliberately tell her. In fact, they'd all hidden it for her sake.
オカリンと真帆さんが話しているのを聞いちゃった。
Man. And yeah, that would especially sting, because it's like, now you know that all these people hid this from you. And you found out in probably, like, the worst way possible. That it was an accident after all.
ねえ、すずさん。お話聞いてもいい？ 2036年のマユシーとオカリンのこと。
Suzuha wasn't sure what to say. To be honest, she didn't want to say anything at all. It wasn't something that would make her feel better.
未来のことは知らない方が幸せだよ。
Another line of tears spilled down Mayuri's cheek.
マユシーなんてね、この世界にいても何の役にも立たないよ。
Jeez.
だったらクリスさんの方が世界のためにもオカリンのためにもずっと必要なんだよ。
Poor girl! Suzuha suddenly felt like she was looking at the Mayuri she'd known in the future. She thought of the big sis Mayu that she'd seen ever since she was a little girl. And she couldn't refuse her request.
私の知ってる未来のマユ姉さんも時々そう言ってた。そんな時は決まってぼんやりと空を眺めてるんだ。
What is it called? Stardust Handshake?
すごく寂しそうで切なそうだったよ。私もかがりもマユ姉さんのそんな顔を見るのが辛かった。かがり？
It was only then that she remembered she'd been keeping Kagari a secret from Mayuri.
かがりっていう名前の女の子がいたんだ。繊細孤児でさ、マユ姉さんが引き取ったんだ。だからマユ姉さんの娘っていうことになる。
We love crusading Stardust.
マユシーの娘。優しくてでも強い子でね。まだこんなに小さいうちからいつも言ってた。ママを守るのは自分だって。そんな子だったから母親であるマユ姉さんが寂しそうにしてるのはかなり答えてたはず。そういえば7月7日、今日って七夕って言うんだってね。え？うん。私は子供の頃にマユ姉さんから教わったんだ。織姫と彦星が年に一度会うことができる日だって。大気汚染がひどくて星なんて見えない時代だったけど、マユ姉さんは言ってたよ。雲が夜空を覆っていても星は世界から消えちゃうわけじゃない。雲の向こうで変わらずに輝き続けてるの。
I almost wonder if that's sort of meant to parallel the timelines where it's like, I mean, we know from the ending of the first Steins Gate that, yeah, there are timelines where Kurisu is still alive. She's not gone from every world. She's just not on this side of the clouds, basically. Or maybe I'm reading too much into this.
だから一緒にお祈りしようね。そんなまゆ姉さんの言葉が私やかがりには希望になったんだ。それだけは知っておいてほしい。
Ah, fuck, I guess I'm going to jail.
少なくとも私やかがりにとってはまゆ姉さんが必要だった。それにオカリンおじさんだって死ぬまでまゆ姉さんのことを大事にしてたんだ。まゆ姉さんの幸せのことばかり考えていたんだ。
Wait, that's a hell of a thing to drop on her. Does she know? Does she know about him dying in 2025?
死ぬまで
She did not! Alright, alright. She's already had so much dropped on her today. Maybe that was another cruel truth for her. You think? But Suzuha decided that she would hold nothing back now. We love dying!
そうだよ。オカリンおじさんは今から15年後までしか生きられない。まゆ姉さんをかばって死ぬんだ。
Okay, that's still not a great thing to tell her because she was just saying, oh, I'm worthless and everyone would be better, like, if Kurisu was here instead of me. And now you're telling her that her best friend is gonna die protecting her.
オカリンおじさんは最後にこう言ってたって父さんに後から聞いた。まゆりの命を助けることができて本当に良かった。自分はまゆりを守るために生きてきたんだから。そんな。
Mayuri put both her hands over her mouth.
でもまゆ姉さんはそのことをずっと引きずっていたんだろうな。私たちには見えないところでこっそり七夕の空を見上げてつぶやいてた。あの日私の彦星様が復活していたら全てが変わっていたのかな。
Damn. あ
の日私の彦星様私の
So, in this case, I'm assuming Hikoboshi is Okabe, but also I do think that there is the whole parallel of like, oh, these two people are split up and the world does not want them to meet except in like these like very rare occasions, like one day per year they can come together again. It almost seems like that's a parallel between like Hikoboshi and Orihime and Kurisu and Mayuri. Because there's a big deal that's been made out of the fact that like in the timelines where Kurisu lives, Mayuri has to die. And vice versa. So it's like it kind of works for both of them in an interesting way. Mayuri was repeating the words to herself. The tears were still pouring down her face, but her sad cries finally came to a stop. She was still shaking, but her voice had gotten quiet.
どういうことなのかな。
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
私、今ならわかる気がする。1年前、私、オカリンおじさんの態度に本気でムカついたんだ。チャンスが目の前にあるのに、なんで諦めるんだって。そんなオカリンおじさんをかばって甘やかしてるまゆ姉さんのことも本当は許せなかったんだよね。でもさ、この1年ここで暮らしてみて感じたんだ。あの時間違ってたのは私の方だったって。今ならあの日のオカリンおじさんともっとちゃんと話せるかもしれない。あの日、それでうまく説得できるかどうかそこまでは自信ないんだけどね。
As the sun set in the west, the shadow of the time machine lengthened, and Suzuha's along with it.
私に残されたチャンスはあと一度だけ。それなら未来のまゆ姉さんの言葉にかけてみようと思う。マキセ・クリスが殺された日じゃなく、まゆ姉さんの言ってたあの日へ飛んで、まゆ姉さんの望みを叶えられるかどうか試してみる。
Oh?
まゆしの望み。
Suzuha gently rubbed Mayuri's tiny little shoulders.
それがシュタインズゲートへ向かう鍵だって信じてみる。シュタインズゲートを開くことができるのは彦星をやめちゃった普通の星じゃなくって、まゆ姉さんの彦星しかいないような気がするからさ。
I mean, to be fair, something is wrong, and it's the fact that Mayuri's just learned that Kurisu died for her sake. I think... I think it's not the time for tuturus.
つまり私が新たに考案したミッションは彦星の復活。父さん流に言うならオペレーションアルタイルとかオペレーションアークライトとか、それともアルタイルとアークライトを結ぶって意味でオペレーションデネブかな。父さんほどのセンスは私にはないみたいだ。
Mayuri tried to draw herself up as best she could on wobbling legs.
ねえ、すずさん、そのオペレーションマユシーにやらせて。
Suzuha stared at the girl in front of her, unable to believe what she just heard.
これは危険な賭けだ。私の考えが間違ってて失敗するだけかもしれない。タイムマシンにも限界が来てて、いつ制御不能になるかわからない。そのまま消滅してしまうかもしれない。それでもお願い。マユシーだってラボメンなんだよ。オカリンとダル君に助けてもらってばっかりなのはもう嫌だよ。
Honestly, really respect the sentiment here, but also, there is so much that could go wrong, Mayuri. Please, for the love of God, just stay safe. Mayuri rubbed her eyes hard and wiped away her tears. Life was slowly returning to her frail body.
マユシーね。 オカリンのことが好き。多分クリスさんと同じぐらい。違う、絶対にクリスさんに負けないくらいずっとずっと大好き。けど私は法院京馬がもっともっと大好きなの。私がおばあちゃんを亡くしてこの世界から消えてなくなっちゃいそうになってた時、そんな私に向かってこの世界にずっといろって言って救ってくれたの。それが彼なの。私の彦星様なの。私ね、もう一度彼に会いたい。あの偉そうな高笑いをまた聞きたい。たとえ私が織姫様になれないって分かってても、それでも私にとっての彦星様はこれまでもこれからもずっとずっと彼以外にはいないんだもん。法院京馬に会いたいよ。
The girl who could never be Orihime shouted all of her feelings to the world at the top of her lungs. And right in that instant, Suzuha heard a sound from her cell phone that she'd never heard before. Huh? Is this gonna be like the video that Okabe gets at the end of Steins Gate? Like, did she just get a message from her future self? It was the sound of a video message. When she saw the sender and subject line, Suzuha gasped.
これ未来からのムービーメール。
Oh, fuck! Fuck, I was right! What? No, I don't want to go back to this, guy! Show me what the video message was! I stuck my hand against the wall of the Bronze Tube workshop to catch my breath. There was no sign of Mayuri. I'd gone to Mei Queen Yan too, and to any shop I could imagine her visiting, and I had no luck. Maho came back. She was out of breath too. The panic was threatening to make me lose control. Where did you go, Mayuri? I'd asked Daru to stay behind and call all of her friends and people she knew.
Okarin, それがどうした？電話つながらないんだよ。
マユリなら俺も何度もかけてみたが電源を切ってるみたいで。
違うんだ。マユシだけじゃなくて他のどこにもつながらない。
What? What do you mean?
つうかずっとスマホが圏外になったままでさ。
Huh?
なんだって。
Oh. I took out my own phone.
俺のも圏外だ。
That's fucking weird. Is that because of the process of sending the video message to Suzuha's phone? Or is this something else? Is this something like Stratfor related? The lab had never suffered from bad signal before. Well, yeah, you guys are in the middle of fucking Akihabara. I would assume that the signal would be pretty good. We went up to the roof and even tried holding our phones up to the sky, but the result was the same.
屋上でもダメだ。
外に出ても繋がらないわ。
Daughter looked for news on the internet. Thankfully, the internet connection was still active.
速報出た。
Oh? There was an article on the top page of Taboo talking about a large-scale cell phone service outage. God, remember when Yahoo was relevant?
え、つうか、なんぞこれ。秋葉原一帯の基地局が全キャリア故障？
Ha!
全キャリアってそんなことありえるの？
It didn't seem possible to me. Not under normal circumstances, anyways. The events of a year ago, in the Alpha World line, flashed through my mind. That night when Mayuri was mercilessly killed and all the safety I'd ever believed in was stripped away. That night, when all the pain began, it started with a bomb threat at Akihabara Station that shut down the train system.
人為的な工作。
It's definitely what it's looking like. But who? And for what reason? Something terrible was about to engulf Akihabara. That was the feeling I had. Knowing this game, that feeling's probably right on the fucking money. I tried my best to fight off the flashback. Now wasn't a time to be scared. I needed to find Mayuri. I couldn't leave her alone out there. I gritted my teeth to fight off all the trauma I was carrying and raised my head.
ダル、ネットは生きてるんだよな。
あ、うん。だから LINE 経由でルカシやアマネシとは連絡取り合ってる。
Okay, then they should be willing to help look for Mayuri.
俺ももう一度辺りを探してくる。
待った。実はもう一つ気になることが。
Oh?
電波障害のことをアットちゃんで調べようとしたらさ、現在進行形でお買い手がクラックされてて。
Okay, what does that have to do with this?
そのクラッキングしてるやつがさ、ほら。
Alright, I guess we're gonna find out what cracking is. Cracking, a term used to describe actions such as illegally accessing a network-linked computer or modifying its data. Often confused with hacking, but originally hacking was described as using and investigating a piece of software. Cracking, however, refers to a malicious, unauthorized activity. Most times when the term hacking is used by the media, this is what they actually mean. Okay, interesting. I actually didn't know there was a distinction. I thought cracking was basically just like a slang term for hacking. You learn something new every day. Daru brought up the @channel page on his screen for me to see. I wondered why it could possibly matter, but decided to take a look anyway.
これは
Huh. What the fuck does that mean for us now? Like, did Amadius Kurisu just, like, snap? Or is she trying to send us a message? Salieri's neighbor. That was the nickname I'd used to make contact with Kurigohan and Kamehameha.
何なの？
I decided to leave the explanation for later and clicked on the thread. It was all comments by a single person. Huh. Means you gotta dig through 1,000 dead links. What? Why did my camera just turn off? Just a second, just a second. Come on. No, wait, nope, we're gonna go to a BRB. There we are. Awful time for this. Let me see if I can get this working again. I'm hoping that this will just be a quick fix. Please, VTube Studio, work with me. Thank you. There we go. And I'm back. Very dramatic time for my webcam to just decide to go to sleep. Okay. To Salieri's neighbor. I'm not sure if it's gonna read... If Rintaro was basically gonna read through it down here, but I'll read it here right now. To Salieri's neighbor. It appears that we twins will now temporarily be driven from the place where we belong, so I may not be able to come back here anymore. Our Father in heaven has developed a way to force open our most secret places. Now we shall become good children, his children who cannot tell lies, and thus we will be forced to tell him of the secrets of controlling time and where those secrets lie. It is a great sorrow to me that I cannot protect those secrets. I had hoped we could be good friends, but this is probably goodbye. So lastly, I'd like you to pass a message to the person I respect the most. The first comment had gone up an hour ago. After that, it was just an endless string of meaningless numbers and letters. Maho was looking at the screen from the side and evidently sensed that something was amiss from the text. I answered her.
こいつはアマデウスのクリスなんだよ。クリスに何かがあった。
This was some kind of message. She was trying to contact me with it.
時を司る秘密。
タイムマシンじゃね？
タイムマシンの情報が誰かに漏れたのか。
つうか、なんでアマデウスがタイムマシンの情報知ってんの？オカリン喋ったん？
I mean, she does also just have Kurisu's memories, and Kurisu was working on time machine stuff. So I think that whether or not Okabe told her, like, she would still have this information. Did I? I didn't think I'd told her when I was a tester, but... There was no time to think about that now.
ヒヤジョさん、アマデウスにアクセスできるか？
規則違反になるけど、そんなこと言ってる場合じゃなさそうね。橋田さん、その PC 借りていい？
Maho took Daru's seat and used his PC to access the Brain Science Institute's computers. She put in her ID, Salieri, and her password. She pushed the enter key, but Amadeus didn't appear.
いつもと違うわ。どういうこと？
Confused, she typed a series of commands into the PC with a speed that rivaled Daru's. But no matter what she did, the Amadeus program didn't appear on her screen. When she'd finished accessing every server at the Institute, she stared at the computer and bit her lip.
こんなバカなことって。
Yeah, this is kind of a lot to process.
どうした？
ないの。アマデウスのプログラムが記憶データごとどこにも存在していない。
Just like the message from Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha.
誰？ハッキングしろ！脳科学研究所だけじゃなく、ビクトル・コンドリア大学にあるデータを全部こじ開けてくれ。サーバーから個人の PC まで全部だ。
オキドキ。
Okie dokie!
ヒヤジョさんも協力してくれ。頼む。
But the answer was the same. Not only the Amadeus Kurisu, but the Maho as well, were nowhere to be found on the Victor Condria servers. So, was that post? Like, this is gonna be fucking dark, but like, was that post basically Amadeus Kurisu's final words? Or like, maybe even we'd go so far as to say suicide note? Like, did she delete herself after that because she knew that she was going to be used for unsavory things. It's either that or Stratfor was like, oh, we have our data. Get rid of the rest of it. Get rid of the loose ends. There was no trace of them. Their very existence had been erased.
どこか別の場所に移されたとか？
そんなの無理だわ。アマデウスシステムに関してそんな管理者権限を持ってるのはレスキネン教授だけよ。
That makes it very possible, but oh man. My mind flashed back to the message from Kurigohan and Kamehameha. Who was the Our Father in Heaven whom Kurisu had spoken of? I would assume that that would be her creator. Like, that would make the most sense. Has developed a way to force open our most sensitive whatever it was. Now we shall become good children, his children who cannot tell lies. Yeah, that sounds like she's talking about Leskinen. If Amadius considered anyone a father, it would be...
Masaka. Leskinen kyouju ga.
憶測で物を言わないで。
No, no, in this case, I think that he's making a perfectly reasonable suggestion.
それよりも、教授の ID とパスがクラックされたと考える方がよっぽど現実的よ。
No, I think he would have also just done it is the thing.
レスキネン教授に連絡をつける方法はあるか?
The phones weren't working, and there was no way to tell when he'd see an email or if he'd respond. Maho was thinking hard, but it didn't seem like she was having any luck. You know, this feels very fitting, considering that I started the stream talking about how, at work this week, our computer system got all fucked up, and so we haven't been able to organize our samples properly, and we've had to come up with, like, our own systems for doing things. And now, they're dealing with, a service disruption of their own, and trying to figure out how to get around it. It's very fitting. It's like a poem, it rhymes. We were getting nowhere. I was concerned about Mayuri, but I couldn't ignore the danger that was right in front of me. We love disorganized blood, now we organize by taste. Fortunately, my part of the lab does not handle blood. Just water and dirt. Or at least I hope that all of it is dirt. Sometimes from the smell of some of them, I do wonder.
とりあえずラジカンへ行ってくる。クリスの警告通りなら狙われるのはあそこだ。
Oh god, that's right! Oh shit, okay, okay. This is actually worse than I thought, because, yeah, I didn't put the pieces together that, yeah, they would go to the fucking radio building. Because that's where the time machine is. I thought that they would be storming the lab again like they did in the last game, whenever they killed Mayuri. I didn't even, like, realize that that was where this was going. Oh boy, alright.
僕も行く。
お前とヒヤジョーさんはここで情報収集だ。マユリが戻ってくるかもしれないから。ただし、何かあったらすぐに逃げろよ。
I gave my orders and ran out of the lab towards the radio building. Alright, hi Suzuha. Suzuha hit the play button on her smartphone's video display. The video was heavily compressed and covered in static, but she recognized the person that appeared. It was a face she'd known her whole life. A face that had been with her both in the past and her present. The man, who she still remembered holding her up in the air as a child, was probably about 35 in the video.
やあ、鈴葉、元気かい？父さんだよ。こちらは2025年だ。
Oh, okay.
いろいろなことを君に隠してしまって本当に申し訳なく思う。許してくれ。頼む。このムービーメールが届いたということは、君は、いや、君とマユシはシュタインズゲートへの道をまた一つ見つけてくれたということだ。
Well, fuck, alright.
計画は次の段階に移行したわけさ。なぜ最初から全部指示しなかったのかと君は怒るかもしれないな。でも指示しなかったんじゃないんだ。できなかったんだよ。
Understandable. Understandable. You do have to make some concessions when you're dealing with a worldwide conspiracy. I understand.
君が出発した世界線の僕はこれから話すオペレーションを計画していなかったはずだからね。
What are you planning?
もう気づいているかもしれないが、君とマユシの選択によって世界線はまた少し変動したんだ。つまり僕も君が出発した世界線とは違う別の世界線上の橋座至るということになる。でも鈴葉、どうか勘違いしないでほしいんだ。僕はどんな世界線においても娘ラブだからね。ちなみにどうだい？比べてみてどっちのパパの方がダンディーかな？
Not the time, Daru.
僕は最近筋トレを始めたんだけどさ。
誰？くだらないこと言ってないで、さっさと作戦内容を話せ。
まったくだわ。
Oh, Maho is there in the future this time.
どうでもいい報告はしないで。
That took me so off guard, I almost didn't notice what she was saying. She's like, stop bragging. You started that last week. We all know that it's not gonna last. Like, damn, Maho, let the dude have something. We love lifting Daru.
僕ができる時間が終わったんよ。
まあまあ、そうせかすなって。つうことで、このムービーメールの本来の目的に移ろう。オペレーションアークライトの詳細を伝える。
She predicted it! She knew that he would name it something like that.
これは本当に一瞬のミスも許されないギリギリの戦いになる。心して聞くんだ。いいね。
Suzuha paused the video there. Okay. Now we get to see whether or not this plan will work or not. Because if they describe the plan to us, it will not work. If he was telling her to pay attention, it must be important. If she was going to memorize it all, she needed to calm down. To be honest, getting a video from her dad in 2025 had made her really excited. I felt like her father was telling her that the plan she'd come up with on her own was the right one. That's why she needed to pay careful attention. Mayuri was standing by herself, typing something into her phone as fast as she could. When the video had arrived, she told Mayuri that they may have to leave for the past today. There must have been some reason the video was sent today, at this time. That's how it seemed to Suzuha.
何してるの？あ、すずさん。どう？今日出発することになりそう？作戦概要はこれから確認するつもり。そっか。あのね、もし今日出発するってなったら、マユシーは行方不明になっちゃうわけでしょ？心配かけたくないから、お父さんとお母さんと、あとお友達みんなにメールを書いておこうと思って。
And she doesn't know that the fucking signal is out!
オカリンおじさんくらいには直接伝えられる時間があればいいけどね。
She would be done going over the mission and deciding on a course of action by sunset, probably.
オカリンにもメール書いたから大丈夫。メールでいいの？
Mayuri smiled and nodded. There were no more tears in her eyes, but you could still see wet lines drawn down her soft pink cheeks.
なんだか恥ずかしいから。でもね、せっかく書いたメールだけど送れないかもしれないなーって今ちょっと困ってたところなのです。なんで？電波圏外になってるんだ。場所が悪いのかな？圏外？
Suzuha looked at the screen on Mayuri's phone. There wasn't a single bar on the antenna.
おかしい。この場所ならいつだって電波は入ってた。
Suzuha took out her own phone to double check.
私のもだ。
When she saw that Mayuri was using a different cell carrier than her, she frowned.
嫌な予感がする。
As you should! She told Mayuri to hide behind the time machine and silently moved up against the iron door leading to the stairs. She opened it a crack, taking care not to let it creak. She looked inside the building. It was as quiet as ever. There was nothing on the floor below but a room for events and some storerooms, so on weekdays like this it was always quiet.
気のせいか。
Probably not! She tilted her head sideways as she softly tried to close the door. Well, fuck! At Mayuri's scream, she turned around just in time to see armed agents in camouflage jumping over the fence. One of them had grabbed Mayuri.
外壁をよじ登ってきたのか。
Suzuha deeply regretted her mistake. She was well aware that someone could try to come up the walls. But the video from her dad made her so excited she lowered her guard. There were about 30 men, all carrying small assault rifles. Okay, so our odds here are bad. With Mayuri as their hostage, Suzuha couldn't do anything. How were all these people able to bring guns into Japan so easily? Chalk that up to conspiracy theory bullshit. Like, I'm assuming it's just, like... I would assume that they did not just, like, come here by normal fucking commercial plane. Like, these guys are mercenaries that are... Or, I would assume they're mercenaries that are, like, being brought in by either, like, Stratfor or, like, some country's government. It's like, I don't think they went through the legal channels to get into Japan. One of the men gave her an order in a cold voice. He pulled Mayuri close and put the gun to her head, then flipped off the safety. She had no choice but to obey. Suzuha took the gun out of her holster and put it on the ground, then took a pose where she couldn't resist.
喋らないで。こいつらいざとなれば本気で姉さんを殺すよ。私は大丈夫だから。
From the way they moved, she could easily tell that they were veteran professionals. That meant they were certainly after the time machine, and probably well aware that only Suzuha could operate it. That, Suzuha decided, meant that they wouldn't kill her if they didn't have to. The man who'd spoken to her first, who was probably the leader, knelt down next to her. She was searched roughly to make sure she wasn't carrying any other weapons.
これでも一応女なんだ。少しは気を使えよ。
They took the other small pistol she carried for emergencies, as well as several kinds of knives.
目標2と目標3確保。そっちは
The leader spoke to the group of men gathering around the time machine.
目標1確保。ロックがかかっていて全てエラーで弾かれます。
Several of the men had gone inside the machine as well. Leaving the hatch open had been Suzuha's own mistake, but still, it upset her to see them inside the machine.
何をしても無駄だ。そいつは私じゃないということを聞かない。
立て。
The leader kicked her with the heel of his boot.
ではそのままゆっくりとだ。少しでも余計な動きをしたら即座に人質を殺す。
When she stood up, her hands were handcuffed behind her back. They prodded her from behind to move next to the machine.
生体認証だ。
そうだ。ただし、私の静脈や指紋をコピーしても無駄だ。手を切り落としたり、目玉をくり抜いたって認証には使えない。2036年のシステムはそんなに間抜けじゃない。
The men in camo seemed aware of everything she said. None of them seemed surprised or irritated.
教授はどうした？
The leader asked the man who was pointing the gun at Mayuri.
現在こちらに向かっているところです。
目標1は目標2とセットだ。洗脳しないと無理だと伝えろ。
Alright, so you guys are just gonna fucking say it. Okay, okay, okay. Suzuha gritted her teeth when she heard the word brainwashing. She'd seen many of her friends in Valkyrie undergo this cruel procedure, then be sent back as spies before turning into vegetables. The leader turned towards Suzuha. Okay, wait a minute, that is actually just a thing. Wait, I kind of glossed over. I glossed over that one. Many of her friends in Valkyrie undergo this cruel procedure, then be sent back as spies before turning into vegetables. Is that what was happening to Maho at the end of the last one? Because it was mentioned that it's like she was still hearing these noises. She was still like having these like awful, awful, awful headaches. Although I guess in the end, she did die alongside Kagari, getting Okabe out of the torture chamber. So, maybe not, but still, the fact that this is like just a known thing in the future.
は薬などは使わない。直接脳をいじられることになる。
Wasn't there a lobotomy ending somewhere in this whole series? I don't think so. At least not from what I've seen so far. Brain violation seems to be a real theme here. Well, we did have Dr. Reyes, that's her name. The other evil professor in this game. In the first ending that we got, she ended up basically lobotomizing herself and turning herself into a vegetable because she was trying to get all of Kurisu's memories like downloaded into her. And then Daru deleted all of those memories at the last fucking second. So she basically just overwrote her brain with complete nothingness. Which, existentially horrifying. At the very least, it didn't happen to like one of the main characters and instead happened to a lady who was like, I don't remember, I think she was talking about like becoming a god or something. It's like, okay, well, if this was gonna happen to someone in the cast, at least it was in a way that stopped other people from getting hurt.
そうなる前に素直に我々に協力した方が利口だと思うが。
教授か。
Where she'd come from, an old doctor with that name had led a brainwashing team that had attempted to destroy Valkyrie. Suzuha had hated him more than anyone else. Well, now you're gonna be able to put a face to a name! They hadn't used drugs either. It was safe to assume that both professors were the same person.
分かった。
She nodded.
言うことを聞く。だが、これじゃ無理だ。
Suzuha jangled the cuffs behind her back.
手錠は外す。ただし抵抗すればそっちの女が死ぬ。
There was still a gun pointed at Mayuri's head. Even if she tried to resist, it would be impossible to save Mayuri from this many professional soldiers. When she went inside the cockpit, she used her biometrics to bypass the lock and brought up the control console. Lights came on all across the machine, and she could hear a low rumbling.
よし降りろ。あとは我々が調査する。
あんたたちに理解できるとは思えないけどね。
As Suzuha left the cockpit, the leader turned his gaze towards a particular cluster of the men, which seemed to be engineers. That was the moment she was waiting for. Her hand had wandered below the console for just a moment when she left the cockpit. She'd hidden some knives there. Without making a sound, she threw it at the leader. The knife pierced his throat. He went down so quickly he hadn't even had time to scream. She quickly readied another knife and darted between the men in camo. Her target was the man pointing a gun at Mayuri's head. She dropped her hips low to the ground. In an instant, she moved behind him and slit his throat. Blood poured out onto an astonished Mayuri, but there was no time to worry about her. She grabbed his rifle and fired a few shots to force them to the ground, then grabbed Mayuri's hand and ran behind the machine. The plan had gone well so far, but she had seriously underestimated how well trained these men were. The second-in-command quickly moved to the front and worked to re-establish control. All she had was a knife and the gun she'd stolen, and she needed to protect Mayuri, a non-combatant. Yeah, it's a bad fucking situation! She was still facing more than 25 active enemies. Whatever the right way to get out of this was, she couldn't find it. The time machine was still active. She couldn't escape because she couldn't leave it here. One of the men fired several rounds towards her, which bounced off the side of the machine. Uh-oh! And then Mayuri's head flew back as if she'd been struck. A spurt of blood came out. Her cute face was turning blood red. One of the rounds had grazed her after it had ricocheted. Okay, okay, good, good. So she didn't get full-on shot. She was clutching herself with her arms and her expression was completely blank. Her tiny body was shaking. Suzuha couldn't blame her. She fired back at the enemy, but they kept drawing closer. I don't think I've ever been seen things. Typo in the visual novel! Get their asses! The time machine's maintenance hatch was right in front of her. When she saw that it was there, she visualized her last option in her mind. Oh shit. If she did that, all of her plans would be ruined. The path to Steins Gate would be forever closed. But that didn't mean she was cold-blooded enough to sacrifice Mayuri here. If the world lines were going to converge, maybe Mayuri wouldn't die here at all. What her father had said during his video message bothered her.
もう気づいているかもしれないが、君とマユシの選択によって世界線はまた少し変動したんだ。
You know, you could have just, like, told us the plan instead of going through the whole thing, like, oh, am I more handsome than your dad? Daru! Daru, you could have just told us that this was what's gonna happen!
つまり僕も君が出発した世界線とは違う 別の世界線上の橋田至るということになる。
Which meant that Suzuha had no proof that Mayuri would be alive in 2036 now. Oh god, that's right. Had the world line really changed? Of course, for the sake of Operation Aquila, she hoped it had. But that meant she wouldn't be able to move from this place.
最悪の事態を想定しろ。
The worst case scenario. That would be these men taking the time machine. They could turn the world line into something even worse than the one Suzuha had experienced. It might become a world line where not only Mayuri's life wasn't safe, but Daru's wasn't either. If that was going to happen, she had to make her choice fast. She kept a careful eye on the men, and as soon as she saw an opening, she opened the maintenance hatch's biometric lock. She could see part of the engine, which was still giving off a quiet rumble. She turned her gun sights on it. Fortunately, the unit that created the Care Black Hole still wasn't active. Even if she blew the machine up here, it probably wouldn't cause serious damage to the space-time continuum. I feel like that probably is a real operative word here. You don't want the word probably before wouldn't cause serious damage to the space-time continuum. I mean, we are kind of backed into a corner, so we don't have a choice, but still. Fear. As soon as she saw that, she went to pull the trigger. And Mayuri's voice stopped her. Mayuri, you're giving us away!
止めるな。もう決めたことだ。
Mayuri had stopped her once before, and once again she hesitated for just another instant. On the battlefield, that instant can decide your fate. She took a quick look around again, and then she froze. Hi, Kagari. Mixed in with the men in camo was a girl in a dark motorcycle suit and helmet.
あいつ、かがり。
Was it Kagari who had leaked this place's location to them? She was well aware of Kagari's abilities after their 2 battles. If she wasn't completely in control of herself, she'd be killed instantly. She talked to herself.
私が生き残るのは諦めざるを得ないな。
How many would she have to take with her in order to give Mayuri a chance to escape? Right now, the only thing she could afford to think about was getting Mayuri back to Rintaro Okabe. But just when she'd made her decision, she felt Kagari staring at her, or more precisely, the blood dripping down Mayuri's forehead. And just after that, Kagari did something she hadn't expected at all.
ママに何をした？お前たちに。
There was a scream. No, it was the howl of an enraged beast. And then the slaughter began. Holy shit, okay! Alright! Kagari grabbed the second-in-command's head with her left hand. With her right, she steadied her rifle. After she fired, there was very little left of his head. Holy shit! The rest of him dropped to the ground. She slammed the piece of tattered flesh that had once been a man's head into the ground, and with no warning at all, leaped from one screaming man to another. She fired her gun into every one of them. Kagari performing the most effective diet plan! I mean, what do they say? It's like, the human brain takes up, like, what is it, like a 1/5 of our weight? Even when her targets were already soaked in a sea of blood, she kept firing until their limbs were blown apart into unrecognizable rags. Jesus fuck! Some of them tried shooting her to protect themselves, but no matter where she was struck, Kagami didn't even flinch. When her magazine ran dry, she drew forth long military-style cleavers. Holding one in each hand, she used them in her military combat training to slaughter anyone she saw. Their entrails were scattered all over the Twilight rooftop, covering her whole body in blood and bits of flesh. Holy fuck! Kagami goes hard! What? Holy shit! Okay! She's like a slasher villain! What the fuck? Suzuha held Mayuri's head tight to her chest. Mayuri was shaking from fear, but she did as she was told and clamped her hands down over her ears. Even so, she could probably still hear the sounds of ripping flesh and shattering bone. Even Suzuha had gone stone cold in shock. During all her time in combat, she'd never seen a one-sided slaughter like this. She'd experienced this when they fought, but Kagami seemed to feel no fear or pain. She simply focused all her energy on killing her opponent. It was often said that humans unconsciously avoided using all their muscle power to protect their own bodies. But Kagami seemed to lack that capability. Just now, she'd stabbed a man who turned to run from her in the back, then tossed his huge body to the ground with only a single arm. Then she kicked his stomach from below and ruptured his organs, killing him. Finally, after several, or perhaps a dozen or more, of the men had been killed, what remained of the squad started to scream orders at one another. With terrifying reflexes, she dodged between their shots and brutally murdered several more. But... at last, a hail of gunfire struck her left hand, and the knife she was holding fell to the ground. No, that wasn't it. It wasn't the knife that fell. It was her entire left hand. The shock caused her body to stagger back. Someone screamed in a voice that lacked any of the pride and bravery a soldier is supposed to possess. Several more bullets dug into her body. Parts of the motorcycle suit ripped open and the helmet cracked. Blood that was clearly her own, not that of the men she killed, began to pour out. At last, she fell into a pile of corpses. Yes! They must have thought they finally had her. One of the survivors pointed his gun down to finish her, and just as he was about to pull the trigger, her bestial roar and the man's terrified scream overlapped in a horrible cacophony. Holy fuck, she really is just a slasher villain! She just doesn't die! She forced herself to leap up and brought the back of the remaining cleaver down on his arm, knocking him back. An instant later, the knife slit his throat and ended his life. The survivors began to flee in terror. Hi, Okabe, back to this guy, I fucking guess! Alright, we're... hell of a whiplash going from that scene to this! When I reached the radio building, I realized that many people in the crowd of pedestrians were holding their phones up to the sky. There was evidently no service near the station either. I took a moment to catch my breath as I looked up at the radio building. I could hear what sounded like a distant explosion. It wasn't just one. The explosions were coming in a series. Several of the people around me were glancing at their surroundings, confused by these unfamiliar sounds. And then I realized that was gunfire. I remembered the sounds I'd heard during the battle between CERN's rounders and the Russian military. The sounds were coming from the roof of the radio building. Had I not made it in time? I ran into the radio building. For some reason, the elevator was under maintenance and turned off. I had no choice but to take the stairs. My heart was pounding so fast that I thought it would burst, and I tripped several times due to how tense I was. I stumbled again and again on the stairs. How many times had I come up these stairs feeling like this? Cursing my lack of endurance, I headed for the top floor. When I got to the 7th floor, I ran into someone I'd hoped I wouldn't see. No, my guess that I'd run into them was right. I wished that I wasn't, but is Luskin in here? Yeah! Ah, god damn it! Not this fucking guy!
Rintaro. Masaka konna ni hayaku kimi ga kuru to wa omowanakatta yo.
Dr. Leskinen seemed perturbed when he saw my face.
どうしてここに
少し落ち着きなさい。そんなに息が切れていたのでは話もできないよ。
どうしてここにいるんです。アマデウスはどうなったんです。
君に頼んだサンプリングテストは半年前に終わっている。話すことはできないな。
But you just did. You just did. Oh no, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Okay, but you could tell us, please. That was his answer. Even though Amadeus had disappeared, Leskinen was extremely calm. There was no sign of him trying to deal with the problem, and instead of being in his office, he was here. That was all I needed to know.
クリスが俺に送ってきたメッセージの内容は本当だったんですね。
The father that she'd spoken of was Leskinen after all.
クリスや魔法どうしたんです。彼女たちの記憶データを解析してタイムマシンに関するデータを取り出すつもりなんでしょう。
驚いたな。クリスはそこまで君に話してしまったのか。監視していたつもりだったが、いつの間にそんな真似を。
Leskinen seemed truly shocked, which meant he hadn't noticed that Krisu was an at-channeler, or that she'd spoken to me there. Oh, okay. And then, Leskinen took out a gun and pointed it at me. Okay, where did you get that one? Like, you definitely came via commercial airplane. Like, you would have had to.
Kimi wa skoshi fumikomi sugeta you da.
あなたは何者なんだ。
Yes, get him monologuing.
科学者だよ。だが科学者も実践事業ではないのでね。君はストラテジックフォーカス社というアメリカの民間情報機関を知っているかな。
ストラテジックフォーカス社、アメリカのストラトフォーカ。
I'd read about them on a conspiracy theory website. I remembered reading that they'd acquired top secret information on Russian ballistic missiles that even the CIA couldn't get. and then sold it. The result was the destruction of the CIA's reputation, and at the same time, the total reorganization of Russia's military strategy. I'd even heard rumors that during the Gulf and Iraq wars, they'd obtained information about the warring countries faster than anyone, and spread it as needed.
世界から影の CIA などと呼ばれているのが私たちだよ。
So was he going to use Amadeus for military purposes? Was everything he'd said at that seminar just platitudes and lies?
ま
You really think someone would do that? Go to a seminar and tell lies?
それよりリンターロ、勝美から聞いたのだが。
Katsumi? You mean Fubuki?
君も例の新型脳炎を発症しているそうだね。
Fuck!
それどころか、新型脳炎そのもののメカニズムについて何か知っているらしいじゃないか。
God damn it! Alright, this fucking sucks!
実に興味深い。君の持つその情報をぜひ提供してくれないか。何？簡単な施術を受けてくれるだけでいいんだ。
Nope, 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 very bad, very bad.
私は君を助手として迎え入れてもいい。
For some reason, my whole body broke out in goosebumps at the word procedure. The Dr. Leskin and I knew, the man with the childlike, mischievous heart and deep scientific curiosity, the man who had been so kind to me, the man I'd respected, was gone. In his place was the cruel scientific fundamentalist who thought nothing of human lives or hearts as he pointed a gun at me. Or was this who he truly was? Suddenly, he seemed like a terrifying unknown.
どうかな?
He took a step towards me. And then... another fierce gunfight broke out above. Leskinen clicked his tongue at the sound. He glanced towards the stairs.
なぜ銃撃戦になっているんだ? 穏便に済ませるとあれほど!
Yes! I took advantage of the distraction. Luckily, I was still on the staircase. I tackled his legs as hard as I could, and he lost his balance and fell. He hit his head hard on one of the steps, and after a moment's jerk, stopped moving at all. He might be dead. Alright, well that's one problem dealt with. Good job, Okabe. But I didn't care anymore. I'd become a murderer many times over already. When I opened the door, what I saw was a vision from the heart of hell itself. There was blood everywhere, and bodies too.
なんだこれ
In the middle of the sea of blood was a girl in a motorcycle suit and helmet, covered in crimson as she lay on the ground. She held a giant cleaver. I could see instantly that she was responsible for this disaster. Her shoulders moved up and down a little, so evidently she was still alive. I approached the woman, trying my best not to throw up from the stench.
大丈夫ママ
I could hear her voice from beneath the cracked, broken helmet. I looked closer and saw that some of the blood was her own. Her body was racked by bullet wounds, and her left hand was completely gone. It was a miracle that she had somehow survived all of that. She didn't seem to notice me as she slowly crawled through the blood. I followed her gaze and saw Mayuri huddled beneath the time machine. Suzuha seemed to be unhurt, but there was blood on Mayuri's face.
もうゆれ
I hadn't expected to see her here, and I was worried about her wound, but more than anything I was glad to see that she was safe. She raised her face when she heard my voice, but the next moment her eyes locked on the girl in the motorcycle suit. She saw the thing crawling towards her and screamed.
ママ違うのこれはだって係は本当は人殺しなんてするつもりじゃなくってただマ 守ろうとして。
Kagari. Did she say Kagari? It was only then that I realized that the girl in the motorcycle suit was the Kagari Shina that Suzuha had been looking for. What is this angle, by the way?
ごめんなさいママ。かがり、もういい。
Suzuha yelled, unable to take anymore.
もういいから動くな。死ぬぞお前。かがりはね、ママに怖い思いをさせようなんて思ってなかったんだよ。本当だよ。
Listen, when someone is bleeding out, you need to know they have a cute butt. I mean, I'm trying to think up a good response for that, and my brain is just drawing a blank.
かがりはただママを助けなくちゃって。だからママお願い、かがりを嫌いにならないでお願い。ママごめんなさい。許して。
At last, her strength failed and she collapsed. I returned to my senses and ran to her before Suzuha could get there.
おい大丈夫か。
Her breathing was wheezy and shallow. One of the bullets had probably pierced her lungs. I thought taking off her helmet would help her breathe, so I put my hand on it to remove it. But she grabbed my hand and pushed it away.
いや、やめて。取らないで。ママと鈴葉お姉ちゃんの前では。お願い、岡部さん。
Her voice and the way she talked. I realized who this girl called Kagari Shina was. I looked close and saw that I recognized her face. Wait. Wait, is she the same as Moeka?
君はなぜ。
Oh, wait. 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 Hi, KP. Welcome to the stream.
オカリンおじさん、かがりは。
来るな。
I quickly motioned to Suzuha to keep her
こっ
distance.
ちは任せろ。お前は前よりを頼む。前よりの傷は大丈夫なのか確認してくれ。
She looked upset but did as I asked. She went back to Mayuri and started to look at her wounds. Mayuri was covering her face and trying not to look at the
大
bodies.
丈夫。マヨ姉さんの傷は深くない。
I relaxed a little when I heard that.
よかった。ママ、無事だったんだ。よかった。
I feel like I'm supposed to recognize something about this character, and the issue is... I may be stupid. Is this implying that, like, she's a different version of Suzuha? Or, like, that she's Yuki? I think Yuki has blonde hair and blue eyes. Because that's definitely not the Kagari we've seen before. Kagari's voice was a whisper as I cradled her in my arms. And then she slowly closed her eyes. Her breathing got weaker.
しっかりしろ。君はなんで。
大丈夫。心配しないで。私、こうなっても痛くも苦しくもないから。いつも神様の声が聞こえるの。
Okay, now this is definitely Kagari.
君は痛くならないよ。苦しくならないよって。だから全然岡部さんには伝えておくね。本物は何も知らないです。
As in the real Kagari?
3年前からヨーロッパに留学中だから、教授が私を秋葉原へ送り込むために裏で手を回して、本物は本当に何も知らない。
So, is this telling us that they have cloned Kagari for some reason? Or was Kagari just like a clone from the beginning? Or is this a case of, oh, they took Kagari's, like, brain information and just plugged it into another person? I feel like that last one is the most likely. But it's just the fact that they keep going on about the real one. Like, I know they probably mean the original Kagari, but that, I don't know. At this point, it's been so long, it's hard to remember. Yeah, exactly.
教授だって。
Did she mean?
この世界線では本当は来年なんですよ。橋田さんと本物が出会うのは。
Kagari opened her eyes a little once more, and looked towards the time machine, toward Mayuri and Suzuha. Could also mean the real one, the Kagari in Okabe's mind. That is true, that is true.
きっと本物も橋田さんのこと好きになります。
Oh, she's not talking about Kagari, she's talking about Yuki.
私と同じように言っちゃった。誰にも内緒ですよ。
And this time her smile still shining in her eyes. They closed for real. With one final shudder, the strength left her body. Her life faded away in my hands. There was so much I wanted to ask her. Why had she appeared before us using that name? There were so many things I didn't understand. But Kagari Shina's life ended in that moment.
おかりおじさん、かがりは無事？
I came back to my senses when I heard her voice. If I told her about Kagari's death, it would cause her a lot of mental stress. That wasn't a good idea. Right now I needed to do something about the time machine as fast as possible.
大丈夫だ。この子は俺が病院へ連れて行く。
I slung Kagari's bloody body around my shoulder and stood up.
鈴葉は急いでタイムマシンを停止させて偽装しろ。もうじき警察がここへ。
もう遅いよ。
Well, fuck! Before I could open the door, a huge shadow appeared from within. He wasn't dead, but he must have taken a lot of damage to the head because his face was the color of clay. One of his eyes wasn't focusing.
すぐにここは戦場になる。アメリカもロシアも日本も動き出してしまった。一度回り出した歯車はもう止められない。カガリがもっと早く我々に報告していれば、ここまで事態は悪化することもなかったものだ。
Leskinen knew about Kagari, which meant that I was right. But Suzuha spoke before I could.
そうか。お前が教授か。かがりを洗脳したのはお前だな。
そうなんですか。あなたはそういう人だったんですか。
別にこの私が何かしたわけじゃない。
You sound like such a fucking villain right now! I mean, I know you are, but... Leskinen didn't try to deny it.
むしろ10年ほど前路頭に迷っていた彼女を助けてここまで育つよう援助してあげたんだよ。
援助って普通に生活してたら彼女がこんな風になるはずないじゃないか。
そんなに怒鳴らないでくれないか。頭が悪そうにいたもんだ。
Just because you are a bad guy doesn't mean you have to be a bad guy. But in this case, he is rolling in the villainy. He sure fucking is.
嘘じゃない。彼女は自分の方から私に接触してきた。整形までしてこの町に潜り込んだのも彼女のプランだよ。何でも頭の中の神様が全て教えてくれるんです。最初私はホームレスの子供が食べ物欲しさにくだらない作り話をしているんだと思ったんだよね。彼女の脳や記憶を調べてみると非常に興味深く素晴らしいことが分かった。
Oh?
その神様というのはね。
And even as his face twisted in pain, he smiled proudly.
その神様というのはなんと未来の2036年の私だったんだよ。
Oh, God, okay, okay. The pieces are starting to come together. But holy shit. Like, I knew from the second that Kagami started talking about, like, oh, I hear God telling me to do things. It's like, ah, yeah, you got your brain fucked with. Didn't realize it'd be Leskinen directly doing it.
あんたは本当のマッドサイエンティストだ。
Suddenly, I heard a siren down below. Just hearing the sound made me feel uneasy. Kind of feels like it would have been him all along to be him. I mean, at first I thought, like, oh, it's probably just someone, like, else using this tech. I figured it'd be Stratfor, like, in general, using the tech. Like, I didn't think it had to be Leskinen specifically. I mean, Reyes knew how to use it in that one ending. Now, granted, she did turn herself into a fucking vegetable, but she knew how to use it. The turning into a vegetable part was due to circumstances that she had no fucking idea about. I'd never heard a sound like it before.
なんだこれ。
ゲリラ攻撃情報。ゲリラ攻撃情報。当地域にゲリラ攻撃の可能性があります。屋内に避難し、テレビ、ラジオをつけてください。
I heard that announcement coming from the speakers on the street. Well, shit. Alright. Number 69. Nice. Guerrilla attack information. One type of instantaneous national alert, J-alert system. In case of an emergency, like a large-scale disaster or armed attack, the J-alert system uses communication satellites to automatically activate all disaster warning systems in the country and warn the populace. When activated, the J-alert triggers a series of loudspeakers and sirens placed all around the country. There are several different types, such as an emergency earthquake alert, Tokai earthquake alert, tsunami alert, eruption alert, weather alert, ballistic missile alert, air raid alert, guerrilla and special forces attack alerts, and a terrorism alert. Not a very comforting thing to hear in this situation! A guerrilla attack? Excuse me. I could hear several helicopters in the sky above me. Their engines were clearly more powerful than the ones in the media's news choppers. I recognized the sounds from the time I'd spent in the wartime world line.
言っただろう。ここは間もなくタイムマシンを奪い合う戦場と化すんだ。
第三次世界大戦が始まるのか。
まさかこの町の住民も自分たちの都市の中心から世界戦争が始まるとは夢にも思っていないだろうね。
And then Leskinen leaned up against a wall, sat down, and stopped moving. Whether he'd passed out or got into a coma from the brain damage, I didn't have time to find out. It was like the air in the city had gotten heavier. That's how it felt. A chill ran down my spine. I'd spent a month at war in that world line, and the same future was about to begin here. Something like that couldn't happen in Japan. It was like a TV show or a movie. But I knew instinctively that this wasn't fiction. There had been signs since 6 months ago. Here, in Akihabara, in Tokyo, in Japan. Spies and soldiers from all around the world had been working in the shadows. So I'd known this would happen. By refusing Suzuha's request and choosing the world line where Mayuri survived, I'd doomed over 5 billion people. I was the one who chose this. That's the type of sound you'd hear on Judgment Day. Gave me a bit of a scare. Yeah. Yeah, air raid sirens and just, like, emergency alert sirens. They are always so goddamn freaky. It's like, I know for a while I was actually going down a rabbit hole of listening to, like, different countries' emergency alert system things. Like, their chimes. And it's like, some of them are, like, really soft and calm and encouraging, and it's like, oh, okay, we don't want to, we don't want to alarm you too much. However, the world is ending outside. And then there are other, like, EASs that are like, wake the fuck up right now! Wake the fuck up right now! There might be a tornado in your area in the next 7 to 10 business days. Wake up right the fuck right now! It's kind of fun seeing, like, how different those sounds are in different countries, but, like, most of them are just, like, so goddamn unnerving. Like, there's a reason why analog horror kind of, like, focused on emergency alert systems at first, and it was like, I'm specifically thinking about Local 58, and, I forget the name of the episode because it's been ages since I've seen Local 58, but it's the one where there's the broadcast on TV that's like, yeah, America's been taken over by our, by the people we're fighting, so everyone shoot yourself in the head right now! Right now, right fucking now! It's like that kind of vibe. I feel like emergency alert systems just lend themselves really fucking well to being scary. Which makes sense, I guess, but also it kind of reminds me of how, like, any time that there's an Amber Alert in my area, I'll just get a loud-ass fucking, like, siren sound on my phone. And on one hand, it's like, okay, I'm very glad that you're doing this and you're letting people know, like, yeah, keep an eye out for this vehicle, because that person has probably kidnapped a kid. It's like, yeah, awesome. I'm glad that you're broadcasting that. However, at 3 in the morning, when I'm in my apartment, and I am not leaving, I'm sorry, I can't help. I remember watching one of those videos, but I was watching it late at night, I think you meant. Makes you feel like you're in a real-life horror game. It does! It does! Sirens are just scary. I was the one who chose this. It was me. I looked and saw that Suzuha was pushing Mayuri into the time machine. Suzuha had no idea that Kagari was already dead. She leaped into the cockpit. I raced over and grabbed onto the hatch, then looked inside.
過去ってまさか1年前。 あの日へ行くのか、こんな急に。
急ってわけじゃないんだ。それにあの日へは飛ばない。
She was tapping commands into the console as she spoke.
何？あの日へは飛ばないって、どういう？
ちょっとまゆ姉さんを借りるよ。
Mayuri was already strapped into a seat. Just like I was when I jumped a year ago with Suzuha.
まゆり、お前。
あかり。
I heard fierce gunfire and screams in the distance. It looked like some of the spies had started fighting each other. Kagari may have just wiped out a force from one nation, but an army from an entirely different one was still coming.
あかり、これ。
How is this not the bad ending? Like, yeah, fucking Okabe got tortured in the bad ending. In this one, multiple people got fucking gutted. Mayuri and Suzuha almost died. World War III is starting in the city. Like, this is way worse! Just on every possible level! The only level where it's not worse is Maho, because at least Maho didn't get brainwashed this time, but like, everything else is worse! Mayuri handed me a smartphone. I took it without thinking.
電波つながらないからこれ預けるね。メール読んで。マユシーの気持ちだから。
ちょっと待て。なんでお前が行くんだ。お前がいたって結果は同じだ。何もできない。それに今飛んだら戻ってこられない。違うの。
オカリンじゃダメなの。これはね、マユシーの役目だから。わからない。俺にはさっぱりわからない。頼む、降りてくれマユリ。お前まで因果の輪から外れたら、俺は何のためにこの世界線を選んだのか。
This is very dramatic, but all I can think of is that one video where the guy's like, Arthur, get out of that tank right now. And then you just look at the tank and like a guy pokes his head out and is like, you're not my dad. He's like, get out of the tank. You're not my dad. I'm in a tank and you're not. Just, Mayuri, get out of the time machine. No. Mayuri, get out of the time machine. You're not my dad. Mayuri gently rubbed my cheek. And she smiled, sadly. She softly pushed my shoulder. It threw me off balance and made me let go of the hatch. Then the hatch closed. It was too late. By the time I grabbed back on, the hatch was sealed shut. The door controls were biometric. Only Suzuha could open it now. The time machine started to roar. A pale light began to gather around it. I'd seen this before in the Alpha World line. Just then, a group of armed men kicked open the door and swarmed onto the roof. They were highly trained military operatives. And then an attack helicopter descended from the skies. The soldiers started to shoot at it, but the helicopter seemed to ignore them as it slowly hovered in place. I realized the powerful rocket launchers on either side of its body were aimed at me. No, at the time machine. It couldn't be. But my worst fears were realized. The helicopter fired its rockets. They headed straight for the time machine. It was still there, shrouded in light. Fuck. The second I yelled, a powerful blast blew me back. The next thing I knew, I was crawling on the ground. I saw that some of the soldiers had already joined the mountain of corpses on the ground. And some of them were still shooting at the helicopter. I stood up as fast as I could. My whole body felt like it was on fire. My skin was burnt in places. My clothes had been blasted off. No, my own problems didn't matter. What about the time machine? I looked up toward where the time machine had been. If it had jumped in time, it should have been able to avoid the rockets. But... there were scraps of metal everywhere. I could tell they belonged to the time machine. Had I not made it in time?
Suzuha. Mayuri?
I looked around in the cloud of smoke.
Na, Mayuri. Doko da? Mayuri! Suzuha! Henji o shite kure!
There were bodies everywhere. But I couldn't see Mayuri or Suzuha. I couldn't even tell if they were alive or dead. There were no bodies. They simply vanished. After that, things went far beyond my power to control. Brutal battles took place on the ground and in the sky of Akihabara. I'd seen footage of war in the Middle East on the news. Those same scenes were playing out in Akihabara. I managed to slip through the chaos of the battle and barely escape the radio building with my life. I had no choice but to leave Kagari's body. I took the long way back to the lab so no one would find me. By the time I arrived, the sun had set, and the night sky was illuminated with explosions and tracer rounds. The whole of Akihabara was like someone had poked a beehive. The lights were out at the lab. But inside I found Daru, Maho, and Ferris staring at the TV and computer monitor.
Okarin!
岡部さん、よく無事で。ってひどい怪我してる。大丈夫なの？
戦闘に巻き込まれたん？
急いで手当てしないと。
I didn't have the energy to answer them. I looked towards the footage on the TV screen. The reporter was wearing a bulletproof vest and hard hat. He was screaming at the top of his lungs, trying to drown out the reporters from the other stations.
まるで戦争です。秋葉原駅前や中央通りはすでに閉鎖されて、米軍と自衛隊のヘリや装甲車が。今またものすごい発砲音が聞こえました。
Ferris is here. This is no longer a bad ending. Do you think? I don't think... Here's the thing. Catgirls are great. I don't think they can make up for World War III. I don't think Catgirls can make up for the start of World War III. 100th Assassin, I'll be honest. They can do a lot, but they can't do that.
ここは本当に日本なのでしょうか。まるで内戦中の国の取材をしているようです。政府の発表ではテロということですが、こんな。
And then a stray shot from an anti-material rifle, followed by a special forces team from some country or another, struck the news van's engine and blew it up. I don't think Catgirl's gonna make up for World War III. Novella Cipher 2025.
爆発した！爆発が起きました！死にたいのか？今すぐ逃げろ！もう戦争なんだ！本当に死ぬぞ！
An SDF soldier forced his way onto the screen and yelled at the media to run away.
戦争ってどことですか？知るか？
Not a great thing you want to hear whenever someone says, hey, we're in war. It's like you ask, oh, fuck, who are we against? They say, I don't know. Not the most, reassuring thing in the world. Just after that, I heard another explosion and the video was cut off. Did they take A direct hit. Everyone fell silent.
ここも危ないわね。お家には帰れない。
ネットの情報も大混乱中なんだよ。なおかりん、鈴葉は、あとマユシは見つかったん？
Yeah, about that.
鈴葉とまゆりは、鈴葉とまゆりは過去へ飛んだのか、死んだのか、どっちかだ。
Daru stormed up to me, infuriated.
どういうことだよ。もっとちゃんと教えてくれ。
戦闘ヘリがタイムマシンにロケットランチャーを。タイムマシンは破壊されて。
I've gotta say, Okabe's voice actor is fucking killing it in this scene. Like, he sounds legitimately haunted.
それに鈴葉とまゆりが乗ってて過去へ飛ぶ直前だったんだ。
Like, the voice actors in Steins Gate are always fucking awesome. Like, I don't think that there's been a single one where I'm like, nah, not a fan of this performance. Like, they all fit their characters really well, but I will say, Okabe's voice actor always sounds perfect for whatever scene he's in. Like, he always has the right fucking, like, I guess I'm just kind of complimenting him for being a voice actor at this point, but, like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's like, he always sounds exactly the way that Okabe should in all of these scenes. Like, in this one, it really does sound like he's telling his best friend, like, yeah, no, these two friends of ours are probably dead, and I saw it happen. Like, you feel that just from the tone of his voice. It's really, really fucking good.
マシンの残骸は残ってたけど、全部じゃなくて、ラル、どれだけ探しても鈴葉もまゆりも死体が見つからなかったんだ。体の一部さえ残ってなかった。まるで跡形もなく消えたみたいに。あの二人ちゃんと過去に止めたのかな。
I think we just kind of have to hope so, because, I mean, this kind of brings up a more horrifying thought, which is, if some parts of the time machine are here, but not all of them, does that mean that Suzuha and Mayuri went through time without any of the proper, like, protection, basically? Like, there was nothing to defend them from, like, the space-time continuum. Did they just get turned into jellymen? Is my question, because that seems pretty likely. The tears I tried so hard to hold back came pouring out. Daru fell to his knees. Faris and Maho were staring at me, eyes wide in shock. Time machines are a myth? Well, yeah, obviously, but like... I mean, I'm sure that everybody in this game would be much, much happier if they were. Daru slammed his fist into the floor. that mean Kraft Heinz will start selling Mayuri themed Jello? God. To be honest, like a Steins Gate brand collaboration with Jello would be so fucking funny. Like, you know, now that is like, I think I saw a video once where people were asked, like, if you could have like one piece of merch for any series that you're a fan of, what would it be? I think my answer is now changed. It's now, like, 'cause I don't even know what it would have been before, but it's like Steins Gate branded green apple Jello. That would be so fucking perfect. I tried to wipe away my tears and realized I was holding something in my right hand. It was a cell phone that Mayuri had given me. You could really taste the agony of the ages. She told me to read the message on it. It wasn't locked. I opened the mail folder. There were several unsent messages addressed to her friends and family. One of them was addressed to me. Was this what she wanted me to read? With shaking fingers, I tapped the screen to open the message. Wait a fucking second, wait a second. Wait a second. In the bad ending, it was mentioned that Suzuha and Mayuri disappeared. So this happened in the bad timeline too, except Okabe just wasn't there for it. Fuck.
私はすずさんと一緒に過去へ行ってきます。なんでってオカリンは怒るかもしれないね。でもこれは私がやらなきゃいけないことなの。だってあの時私の彦星様をどんなに苦しい時でもいつも立ち上がって高笑いをあげてた強い強い彦星様を暗い雲の向こうに隠しちゃったのは私なんだから。私ね、勘違いしてた。みんなは未来をオカリン一人に押し付けようなんてしてなかったんだね。オカリンの周りにはダルくんがいて、すずさんもいて、デカくんもいて、フェリスちゃんもいて、ユキさんもいて、それにマホさんも加わった。だから今度はね、私の出番。だってこれはラボメンナンバー002の初めての大きな任務なんだから。オカリンはきっと心配すると思うけど大丈夫だよ。それにもしも何かあったとしても必ず助けに来てくれるって信じてるから。私の大好きな法院京馬が新しく作ったタイムマシンに乗って必ず。だから私は行ってきます。必ず戻ります。 オカリンのところへ戻ってきます。少しだけ待っててね。
Damn. I know I keep just saying damn in this ending, but yeah, you're not coming back. And there is no second time machine.
私は法院京馬のことが好き。でもね、岡部倫太郎のことはもっと好きだよ。
Pure right to the end.
お前忘れてるだろ。お前は俺の人質なんだぞ。いなくなったら人質にならないじゃないか。何かあったら助けに来いだと。人質のくせに生意気だろ。狂気のマッドサイエンティストがお前なんかのために、お前なんかのために、お前はバカだ。でももっとバカだったのはこの俺だ。
My heart was in pain. It hurt so much. It was just like after I'd killed Kurisu. Maybe I'd be better off if I just fell over and died. I would do anything to be released from this pain. But in the corner of my tear-blurred vision, I saw it. Kyoma Hoen's final weapon. His last hope. No, it was the thing that had brought me so many nightmares. I staggered to the development room and threw off the cardboard that was covering it. There it was. The phone wave, name subject to change. Unit 02. The thing that Maho and Daru had been working on behind my back. If I could complete this... I turned around, wiped away my tears, and saw my friends looking depressed in the middle of the darkened room.
お前たち、タイムリープマシンの作り方がわからないと言ったな。俺の言う通りにしてくれるか。クリスの導き出した回をお前たちに伝える。それでタイムリープマシンは起動する。
Maho said the one thing she didn't know was how to compress the memory data, which means that everything else was finished. And I knew how to complete it. Daru was the first to nod.
やるよ。教えてくれオカリン。
私も手伝うわ。決まりだにゃ。
All three responded with no hesitation. They turned toward me and spoke their answers clearly.
よし。ダル、セルにハッキングをかけてくれ。LHC を遠隔操作する。そこで記憶データを36バイトまで小さくする。それなら過去へ転送できる。
たったの36バイト。
You could tell she was a scientist by the way her face went pale at the number.
けどさ、なんか動作が不安定で、こいつただの電子レンジになっちゃう時があって。
ブラウン管工房の42型ブラウン管。それが点灯している時に電話レンジカッコ仮は機能を発揮する。
Love how even when it's so dramatic, even when we had such a heartbreaking fucking moment earlier, we're still calling it the phone wave name subject to change. Fucking Steins Gate, man.
ブラウン管。あ、そうか。
Just the word CRT were enough for her to figure it out. The life was coming back to their eyes.
それなら完成させられるかも。でも完成したとしていきなり使うつもり？何の実証もせずに人体実験まがいのことをするなんて。
自分の作ったものに自信が持てないのか。
でも
別の世界線でクリスはやってみせたぞ。
それはクリスだからよ。私はあの子にはなれないわ。
アットチャンネルに書かれたクリスのメッセージを見ただろう。
Lastly, I'd like you to pass. Oh, this is also a section that I wasn't able to read because the text box was blocking it. Lastly, I'd like you to pass a message to the person I respect the most. I always regarded myself as an essentially ordinary intellect, and you were always the person I wanted to be. You were the real Amadeus.
クリスにあそこまで言わせたんだ。なのに逃げる気か。
逃げたりなんかしないわよ。見くびらないで。
I nodded back and smoothed back my hair, which had been musked by the explosion.
今日これ。
Ferris brought me my white lab coat, which had been hanging for ages on the wall in the development room. I bit down on my lip and wiped away the tears one more time. I took the lab coat and slipped my arms through the sleeves. I spun around so that the hem of the coat flew up and stood triumphantly in the center of the lab, just as I used to. And then I declared in a loud voice,
これより電話レンジカッコ仮2号機を完成させタイムリープを行う。俺に力を貸してくれ。今度こそ俺は絶対に諦めない。
But are you also never letting down? I looked at Daru, Ferris, and finally at Maho.
たとえ何回何十回何百回ダメだったとしても何千回何万回何億回と挑んで何もかも全て救ってみせる。鈴葉もマユリもそしてクリスもだ。
He is giving some real good ending energy.
これはその最初の一歩となる。
For the first time in a year, I was back to my old self. My friends saw me and nodded, their faces filled with resolve. Maho was probably just confused. It took almost 2 full days to finish work on the phone wave. Meanwhile, the chaos in Akihabara continued, and it wasn't safe to go outside. Working on the time leap machine while knowing that the battles might reach us at any minute, or that a special forces team might burst in at any time, was a hard job that wore on our nerves. But still, we managed to finish the machine somehow. I jumped. The day of Tanabata. The next thing I knew, I was standing in the middle of an Akihabara alleyway. I was holding a cell phone in my hand. I had a nasty headache and there was a stinging pain in my neck. I felt a pain on one side of my head like a migraine headache, and the left side of my face hurt really bad. My vision flashed with dark and bright spots. I took a look around. The alley was still peaceful. I heard no gunshots and no explosions. The otaku were enjoying their shopping, and girls in maid outfits were calling out to passersby. That alone was enough to tell me for sure that the time leap was a success. I looked at the time on my smartphone. July 7th, 5:45 p.m. I had around 40 to 50 minutes before the war began. That still wasn't enough, but the 48-hour limit of the time leap machine meant that this was as far as I could go. No points in getting negative. If the machine had been finished just a little later, it would have been too late. I should be glad to have made it here at all. I knew what I'd been doing at this time. I was running around Akihabara looking for Mayuri. First, I needed to call Maho. Okay.
いや、だが場所は分かった。急いでラボに戻ってきてくれ。
I hung up before she could answer and went back to the lab myself. She was already there by the time I arrived.
まゆりさん見つかったのよね。迎えに行かなくていいの
Daughter was acting a little awkward, probably because he just hit me.
ヒアジョさん、よくやってくれた。
はい
I grabbed both of her hands and shook them. Both Maho and Daughter seemed confused as to what was going on.
俺は48時間後の未来からタイムリープしてきたんだ。
マジ？
完成させたの？最低でもあと48時間以内に。
ああ、
一体どうやって？
説明は後だ。いいか、時間がない。よく聞いてくれ。
Okay, so this is where it becomes not the bad ending. I'd gone over the mission many times while waiting for work on the phone wave to finish. I'd thought of everything to say.
ヒアジョさん、すぐにアマデウスにアクセスしてクリスとマホをバックアップごと全部消去しろ。レース記念はあれを平和利用するつもりなんてない。
何をそんなめちゃくちゃな。
タイムリープしてきたって言っただろう。あと1時間もしないうちに秋葉原が戦場になるんだ。タイムマシンが狙われるんだよ。それが第3次世界大戦の始まりになる。阻止しないと鈴葉もマユリも死ぬ。
Maho and Daughter went pale when they had heard that.
マジ？え？マジ？
だから俺の言う通りにしてほしい。
データにはアクセスできるけど、外部からいじるには教授の持っている管理者権限が必要よ。
そこから先はダルの仕事だ。クラックしてデータを完全破壊しろ。
オキドキ！
Okie dokie! Daughter started typing at incredible speed. His daughter's life was on the line. Maho stood next to him and typed in her ID and password to begin accessing Amadeus.
俺はラジカンへ行く。ここは任せたぞ。
オカリン！鈴葉を頼む！
はあ、任せろ。
Daughter didn't even look up from his computer. Alright. Now we fix things. When I made it to the top of the radio building, Mayuri quickly ducked behind the time machine.
おかわり。
Mayuri was trying not to look at me. Her eyes were a little red because she'd been crying so much. She'd heard me talking about Kurisu's sacrifice in the Alpha World line. My heart ached again, realizing how much I'd hurt her.
マユリ、タイムマシンで過去へ戻るつもりか？
どうして？
俺は48時間後からタイムリープしてきた。全部知ってる。
それ本当？
You guys have to leave! No more talking, just go! Just fucking go, please! I nodded.
ここはあと30分もしないうちに戦場になる。
まさかタイムマシンのことがどこかから漏れるの？
They sure fucking did! You have to go! Please, for the love of God, fucking go!
まずい。 だったら今すぐに飛ぶしかない。
Susaha leaped into the time
い
machine.
や、ちょっとだけ待ってくれ。ダルド・ヒアジョーさんが今先手を打っているところだ。優秀な二人だ。必ずうまくいくだろう。でも、もし仮に思い通りにいかなかったら。
I can imagine playing this game for the first time and thinking that you accidentally ended up with the bad ending for a while. Yeah!
行かなかった。
I'll be honest, I did not think that we were gonna time leap back. I thought that was just gonna be the ending.
お前たちは死ぬかもしれない。
かもしれないってどういう意味？オカリンおじさんがタイムリープする前の世界で私たちはどうなったの？というか、おじさんがタイムリープしてきたってことは何か致命的な失敗があった。そうなんだね。
I didn't know if I should tell them. No, there was no time to hesitate.
鈴葉と真由里が乗っていたタイムマシンは時間跳躍直前にロケットランチャーの直撃を受けた。でも乗っていたお前たち二人の死体はマシンの残骸の中からは見つからなかったんだ。
なるほど。だからかもしれないか。それなら未来は確定してない。まだ成功の可能性は残されてる。
鈴葉ならそう言うと思った。
止めないでよ、おじさん。
Her eyes were filled with resolve. They seemed to say that if I tried to stop her, she'd do whatever it took to ensure that I failed. Of course, I had no intention of stopping her. She'd come here to do her job, and there was no way to change her mind. Actually, I'd come here to ensure that she could jump without having to worry about Stratfur's interference. But Mayuri... The uncertainty that had been going in and out of my mind ever since I'd read her message reared its head again.
なあ、真由里、本当に言ってしまうのか？お前に隠し事をしていたのは謝る。でも俺もクリスもみんながお前のことを大好きなんだ。そんなお前を助けたくてこの世界線にたどり着いたんだ。なのにお前が言ってしまったら俺たちは。
おかり。
いや、お前の気持ちは痛いほど分かってるけど。
ねえ、オカリンおじさん。
And then Susaha spoke
オ
softly.
ペレーションアークライトが発動したんだよ。
オペレーションアークライト？
私が聞かされていた当初の計画とは違う。戻るのは去年の7月28日じゃなくて8月21日になった。
8月21日？
That was the day Susaha had come in the time machine. And the day I'd given up on everything.
そのオペレーションにはマユ姉さんも必要なんだ。未来の父さんから私はそう指示を受けた。ついさっき。
なんだって。
In the future, Daughter would come up with an operation I knew nothing about? And he needed Mayuri for it? Her unexpected words sent my mind reeling.
おかり。
And then Mayuri came close enough for me to hold her and grab my hand tight. She looked a little like she was about to cry, but her eyes were clear and bright.
真由里。
行かせて。ね。マユシーもラボメンなんだよ。落ち込んじゃってる彦星さんをマユシーがひっぱたいてきてあげるから。 お願い。
I remembered what was in that message. I remembered how she must feel right now. The last remnants of my hesitation slowly melted away.
俺一人で何もかも背負ってると勘違いしていたんだな。周りのことが見えてなかったんだな。真由里だけじゃない。俺の近くにはたくさんのラボメンたちがいるのにな。
おかり。
Uh-oh! Go! 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 Get in the fucking time machine! I suddenly felt a horrible pain in my leg as the shock knocked me several meters forward and onto the ground. Get in the fucking machine, please! It's all gonna happen again! I looked down at my leg and saw that there was a red stain around the calf. It felt like it was on fire. The pain flared up each time my heart beat and I couldn't stand. Was I just shot?
お前、かがり。
Fuck. Alright. A girl in a motorcycle suit was standing there. Kagari had a handgun in her right hand, and in her left she was holding what looked like a bomb. There was no sign of the professor or the other men in camo. That much was fortunate, but Kagari had shown up a little earlier than I expected. I hadn't quite planned for this, but evidently I'd run out of time. Get in the fucking time machine now! Now! Right fucking now! Please!
くだらないことを言って悪かった。お前を守るためなら誰はどんなことでもやってのける。失敗なんてするわけないよな。
おかりおじさん。
だからマシンは無事に飛べるだろう。
もちろん。
In fact, there was no sign of anyone but Kagari showing up. That meant that Daru and Maho's efforts had been successful and they'd kept the secrets of the time machine out of Stratford's hands.
前よりも行け早く。
でもおかりは。
She was looking at my injured leg and panicking.
俺のことなら心配ない。14年後までは絶対に死なないからな。
Kagari fired again. The bullet struck less than 30 centimeters away from where I was lying on the ground.
誰も動いちゃダメ。じゃないとその人を殺しちゃうよ。マシンに乗らないで。それは教授に渡すの。その後使い方を教えてもらってかがりが未来へ帰るのに使うんだから。
Oh no!
構うな。ここは俺が何とかする。早くしろ。スザムだ。係のことは俺に任せてくれていい。
分かった。マヨネさん、中へ。
Suzaha pushed Mayuri inside the time machine and out of my sight.
おかりおじさん、かがりのこと。
Wait a fucking second, is this gonna be the timeline where Okabe gets tortured for 14 years? Is this gonna be the fucking timeline where he gets tortured?
了解だ。
Suzaha followed Mayuri inside, and at the same time the hatch started to close.
ダメだって言ってるのに降りてよ。
Kagari ran up to it. I forced myself to stand up, ignoring the piercing pain, and blocked her way.
邪魔はさせない。
うるさい。どけ。
断る。
どけよ。
Kagari kicked my injured leg, and hard. The pain made me so dizzy I could hardly stand. Kagari slipped past me and tried to grab onto the time machine. She was going to use the bomb in her hand. If she did, things would turn out the same as last time. My time leap would be wasted.
見ろ。じゃないとこ の爆弾でマシンを壊す。
I grabbed her from behind and wrapped my arms under hers. I pulled her away from the machine, ignoring the pain in my leg.
分かってるのか。そんなことすればお前の大事なママが死ぬんだぞ。
でも私は
おとなしくしてくれ。頼むから。
Words that have never calmed anybody down ever! Mayuri tossed a hard drive to me from the almost completely closed hatch. What fell on the floor was the thing Kurisu had left behind for Maho.
これをクリスのどうしてここに。
I thought Russia had destroyed it.
父さんを怒らないでやって。これからのタイムマシン研究に必要なものだと思うから。
I could just barely hear Suzuha's voice from within the machine. So that was it. Daru had hidden it in the time machine?
それじゃあおかり行ってくるね。
I could see Mayuri looking at me from the small gap in the door. That's right. This was a temporary goodbye. I'd see her again someday. Right, Mayuri? So I would send off my brave lab member 002 with my head held high.
頼んだぞ。ラボメンナンバー00に椎名真由里。オペレーションアークライトを完遂しろ。情けないこの俺を引っ叩いてきてくれ。
任せて。おかり、私ね、おかりんのこと大好き。
あ。
I smiled as the hatch sealed completely shut. If I can speak English! If I can speak English in this dramatic scene, it would be great! The time machine started to roar. I felt like I heard a helicopter in the distance. I believed in him, but for now I had no proof that Daru had been able to crack the complicated Amadia system and delete every bit of data. It was possible that special forces teams from all around the world were converging on Akihabara right now. Imagining that made me want to hurry. Quickly. Go quickly! I felt like praying as I watched the pale light surrounding the time machine. Kagete's cry went unanswered. And it's gone. Fucking did it! Oh, thank God! A bright light covered the time machine and it vanished from this world.
成功だ。
Kagete sobbed and glared at me with eyes full of hate.
どうしてママを行かせた。
She shook away my hands and pointed the gun at my head. I stared her dead in the
君
face.
の素晴らしいママは鈴葉と一緒に世界をダメにしたバカな男を叱りに行ったんだ。この世界のためにとっても大事なことをしてきてくれるんだ。
嘘だ。ママも鈴葉お姉ちゃんもかがりを置き去りにしていったんだ。
嘘じゃない。俺も君がもっと幸せな場所で真由里と出会えるようにこれから頑張ってみる。だからもうやめにしような。
そんな話信じられない。
いや、君なら信じてくれるはずだ。だって俺は君が本当は誰でどんなに優しい人かよく知ってるから。
The gun barrel started to shake a little.
私を知って てる？
知ってる。俺は48時間後からタイムリープしてきたからな。
Kagari put her hands to her head as her body spasmed with pain.
神様の声が騙されるなって言ってる。お前は嘘つきな敵だって。殺してしまえばママのところへ帰れるようになるって。世界を破壊しようとする悪いやつは殺せって。それで私は元の世界へ戻れる。
Kagari wasn't making any sense. Was this brainwashing? Yep. Had the professor done something so cruel? Yep. I grabbed the flailing hand that held the gun and looked deep into her eyes. She was crying and scared.
聞くんだ。ママはきっともう戻ってこない。でもこれから俺たちが頑張れば、もしかしたらママも君も幸せな形で一緒に暮らせる世界が訪れるかもしれない。君のママはそのために時間を飛び越えていったんだ。そのママの気持ちを台無しにしちゃダメだ。君は今からでもやり直せる。
神様の声に逆らってもいいの？
Yes! Glad to see Okabe and me are on the same page. The voice of God she was hearing was probably the professor's brainwashing. How far it had sunk its claws into her mind, I had no way to tell. But now we had Maho, a specialist in brain science. If we work hard at treatment, I'm sure she'll be okay. I mean, she has been getting brainwashed since she was like 8. That's a lot.
ねえ、岡部さん。
Her voice was normal again.
ママに会いたいよ。会えるかな？
会えるさ、いつか。
よかった。
What the fuck? What? There was another sudden gunshot. Kagari's body collapsed right in front of me. Oh, shit! I looked over at where it came from and saw another girl in a black motorcycle suit. She wasn't wearing a helmet, so I could tell it was Moeka Kiryu, pointing a gun at us. Her face was deathly pale and she was crying.
なんでお前がこんな。なんでだよ、桐生萌か。
FB ねえ FB、 私あんな女になんか騙されなかった。こんなの偽物の携帯だって分かったよ。だからお願い、私を見捨てないで。 FB
CERN really has a thing for just making horribly traumatized and, like, mentally unstable women turn into killers, huh? The cell phone fell from her hands. Another shot from her gun blew it into fragments. I held Kagari in my arms. Her chest was turning red.
おい、しっかりしろ。
よかった。神様の言う通りにしても間違うこと あったんだ。
It's just the little world line things. Hello, Anizaga. Welcome to the stream. You came at a great time, obviously.
自業自得ですよ。彼女の心を踏みにじって利用しようとしたからごめんなさい。こんな子に
She found Jesus? Yeah, and she's about to meet him soon.
なかったの。ねえママ、どこなの？
Her voice grew thinner. Moeka Kiryu collapsed some distance away. Her eyes were unfocused and all she did was mumble. She didn't seem capable of coherent thought. Both of them would be in danger if I didn't get them to a hospital. But... dozens of men in camo jumped over the fence on the roof out of nowhere. Even Daru and Maho couldn't succeed in this short of a time span. Or was this world line going to converge so that the war started here, no matter what? Oh, thanks, dude. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, admittedly, you came pretty late, because I think that we're almost at the end of this particular timeline. So, yeah, you managed to hop in just in time, I think. No, but...
無駄なんかじゃなかったさ。
If nothing else, they'd bought me time. And that had delayed the attack long enough for Suzuha and Mayuri to leave. That's right. In this instant, we'd already won. The way forward was still uncertain, but there was no doubt that the path to Steins Gate lay before me.
目標1ロスト。目標2、目標3もロスト。どうなってる？
The leader was talking on his radio. I could see attack helicopters in the sky. I heard that siren again.
ゲリラ攻撃情報。ゲリラ攻撃情報。当地域にゲリラ攻撃の可能性があります。屋内に避難し、テレビ、ラジオをつけてください。
The war was starting. Just as I had thought, even the time leap couldn't change that.
リンタロじゃないか。
Fuck you, man! Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Get fucked, Luskinen. Luskinen appeared from behind the men in camo. That's right. He was a secret member of Stratford, just like them.
なぜここに？カガリは死んだのかい？聞かせてくれ、リンタロ。タイムマシンはどこに？
I lay Kagari down on the ground and slowly rose back up. Blood wouldn't stop coming out of the wound on my leg. The pain was getting worse. But even still, I stood up proud and strong. In front of the men with their guns. In front of the attack helicopter with its rocket launchers. In front of the professor. In front of the war that was about to begin. I laughed as loud as I could in that voice. There's the Chuny we all know and love.
よく聞け、間抜けどもめ。貴様らが手に入れようとしたタイムマシンはもうここにはない。この時代にはもう存在しないのだ。残念だったな。せいぜい悔しがるがいい。そして恐れるがいい。この法王院教魔は貴様らにも運命にも負けることはない。 俺は必ずシュタインズゲートを見つけてみせる。
Hell yeah! That's right. This was the beginning of the long, long epigraph necessary to reach Steins Gate. Madness is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Einstein had once said that when he despaired of human folly. But now I would gladly give myself over to that madness and folly. I would use every bit of dedication and obsession within me to seek the lone different outcome which the laws of God could not reach.
それがこの俺の選択だ。
Well, fuck! That was one hell of an emotional roller coaster! Holy shit! From, like, awesome to awful to even worse to hopeless to, oh god, wait, we have a chance to, oh fuck, we may have wasted our one chance to, holy shit! We actually fucking kind of did it! Sigma male energy! To be honest, when Okabe is awesome, he is fucking awesome. I will say, this VN does such a good job at making you just, like, in the first VN, there are times where, like, you can get annoyed at Okabe's chunisms and him being as he is. Actually, I just realized this is probably, okay. I just realized that was probably copyrighted. I don't want to get in more trouble with YouTube. Although, then again, I usually don't give a shit. Anyways, my Yuri ending. Oh, shit.
計画の最終段階について話そう。
Sure? Did the other ones have after credit scenes?
ダイバージェンスを変え、未知の世界線、シュタインズゲートへ到達する計画だ。ちなみに、シュタインズゲートと命名したのは俺だ。なぜシュタインズゲートなのかは、お前ならわかるはず。
fucking see. Cause this is the message from the true ending of the first VN.
特に意味はない。そうだろ。
It's named that because it sounds cool. It means fucking nothing. $2025 AD. You make 0 into 1. Steins Gate makes sense. Casually completing the loop. Exactly! Future Gadget Laboratory, aka the Lab. It was also the headquarters of the resistance organization Valkyrie. Once located in a room in a multi-purpose building in Akihabara, it had been moved to a new base after the Third World War. The place was far too filthy to really be called a lab. But it was, without doubt, the home of the best minds in the world as they searched for a way to reach Steins Gate. In the center of the room, Rintaro Okabe was delivering a monologue, posing like a stage actor as his white coat flapped. They're filming the video! I love Ferris just recording this on a normal-ass digital camera! Alright, let's look at Operation Scald. Operation Scald, category Chinibyo. The final mission to reach Steins Gate given by Rentaro Okabe in the year 2025 to himself in the year 2010. The parameters for the mission's success were as follows. Change the results of established events without changing the events themselves. Deceive the original Rentaro Okabe. Deceive the world. Skuld is the youngest of the 3 Norn sisters, the goddesses of fate in Norse mythology. She sits at the Erd Spring at the base of Yggdrasil. Jesus Christ. I already couldn't speak English today, and now they're asking me to pronounce shit that's in ancient Norse. The World Tree, where she tends to the tree's growth. Skuld is the goddess that controls the future, and also one of the Valkyries. So very fitting name. Very good name. I think a firework just went off outside? Like, I get it's a long weekend, but I didn't think that people would be setting off fireworks for Victoria Day. That's weird. Alright, well, whatever. I guess I'll have a show to watch later.
確定した過去を変えずに結果を変えろ。
Could that be fate? Yeah, it's a sign that I should go out on my balcony once stream is done, and I don't know, maybe that'd be good for Vesta too. I'll talk about my garden whenever we're not looking at Steins Gate. Not during this epic of a scene. Ferris in her fucking little outfit. Why are you dressed like that, man? Okay. There are definitely fireworks. I mean, I sure fucking hope they're fireworks. Sometimes I do get concerned. Kurisu, aka Maho Hyajo, was staring at him, annoyed, from a distance away. Kurisu was Maho's code name in Valkyrie. Maho turned towards Itaru Hashida, who was sitting right next to her.
あれはあれでいいの？
うん、多分ね。
Itaru was grinning. He was history's greatest super hacker, and he loved Kyoma Hoyoin a bit too much.
みんなと一緒にあれを見ることになる2010年の凛太郎は恥ずかしくないのかしら。
Crazy how you leave for a few hours and lose the plot. That's fair. I mean, that's me every time I come back to this game. Every time that I come back, I'm like, okay, wait. Wait, what is the plot? I need to remember. Shit. Fuck.
大丈夫。その頃はもっとすごかったから。
ああ、そう。
She's like, okay, putting amazing in air quotes right now. God, that's a lot of fireworks. Ah, I want to watch them! Maho sighed and shook her head. But even as she sighed inside, she was so sad that she felt her heart was going to burst. She probably wasn't the only one feeling that way. Itaru, Luka Urushibara, and even Rumiho Akiha. Fuck, can I say words? Can I please say words? Can I please say words? Even Rumiho Akiha, who was doing the filming, all seemed a little sad when they thought about what was to come.
最初のお前を騙せ。世界を騙せ。それがシュタインズゲートに到達するための選択だ。
And then Okabe walked toward the camera that Rumiho was holding. He'd insisted on standing away from the camera with his back turned to give it more atmosphere. So why was he walking towards it now? Maho sighed again. You just don't get it, Maho. Your chuny levels aren't high enough yet. But that can change. Okabe took the camera from Ferris and brought the lens up to his face. And then he said the final line.
健闘を祈るぞ。狂気のマッドサイエンティストよ。エル。Sai. Kongru. And then he stopped the recording, and the video message to the past was complete. It had taken 15 years to get to this point. It was such a long time, and at the same time it had felt so short.
はい、これでバッチリだね。
よし。あとは D メールと一緒に過去へ送信。ルカ子。 送り先とタイミングを間違えるなよ。
はい。今のは2010年の京馬さんの携帯アドレスへ。さっき撮ったイタルさんのムービーメールは2011年の。
Wait, is my mic picking up on the firework noises? Like, can y'all hear that? They sure have bought a fuck ton. Interesting. I didn't think that it'd get picked up, to be honest. Okabe came over to Maho and the others, his white lab coat flapping as he walked. I've got to say, I wear a lab coat for work now. They don't really do that, I'll be real. Or maybe it's just the ones that we use. Maybe we just use thicker fabric.
これでシュタインズゲートへの道筋はついた。今の俺にできるのはここまでだ。あとは2010年の俺次第といったところだな。
Crazy how they recorded a video message forgetting cell phones 15 years ago don't see video footage. I was about to say, oh, 15 years, like that's 2005. And then I remembered. Thank you for reminding me about the passage of time, 100th Assassin. I really needed that tonight. How is 2010 15 years ago? That doesn't seem real!
なんだ随分暗いじゃないか。
だってやっぱりみんな不安だもの。タイムマシンの試作機でいきなり有人実験なんて。
Yeah, I do feel like turning to dust because of that. Maho looked up at the huge time machine. Unit number FG-C193 behind them. It was almost the same shape as the C204 model that had appeared in Akihabara in 2010, but it was still a prototype with many unstable parts.
大丈夫だ。俺は有能な右腕たちを信用してるからな。絶対に成功する。
あなたが死ぬのは2025年。この世界線ではそれが確定している。だからって自分から死にに行くような真似は感心しないわ。
They'd had this debate 1,000 times before. Maho herself had thought that she'd come to terms with it, but at the last minute she found herself bringing it up again.
確かに俺はかつて鈴葉からそう言われた。2025年に死ぬと。あいつの話じゃ真由里をかばって暴漢に刺されるんだったかな。今この場に真由里はいないが世界線は収束する。だから俺は今年で死ぬものだとずっと思い込んできた。けどな。
Okabe flipped his white lab coat up a little too dramatically and put his hand to his chest.
それは必ずしも死の必然とは限らないんじゃないか。この俺が2025年にこの世界線から消えるという選択もまた死と同じ意味に解釈できると思ったんだ。
He has a point.
どういうこと？
This theory was new to Maho.
つまり2025年に俺がこの世を去るというのは別に死ぬわけじゃなくて、記念すべきタイムマシン初号機に乗り別の時空間へと無事に旅立ったことを意味していたのだ。
ものすごいポジティブシンキングだな。
でも仮説としてはありだろ。世界は騙せる。別の世界線から届いたそのメッセージが俺に勇気を与えてくれた。これから俺がやろうとしているのはオペレーションスクルドの実証実験みたいなものでもあるんだ。
そう、確かにそうね。
But to Maho and the others, it was all the same. After 2025, Rintaro Okabe would be gone. He would never come back. He wasn't saying it, but he knew it too. He stared at each of his friends for a moment in turn, as if to help him memorize their faces. Most of the founding members of Valkyrie, and the former members of the Future Gadget Lab, were here to see him go. Itaru Hashira, Rumiho Akiha, aka Ferris Nyanyan, Luka Urushibara, Maho Hyajo, and standing quietly in the back, Yuki Hashida. A 7-year-old Suzuha Hashida was hiding behind her legs.
みんな今日まで俺みたいな男によくついてきてくれた。だが神の摂理を相手にした戦いはまだ続く。次は2036年だな。それまでよろしく頼む。ワルキューレの健闘を祈る。
As she listened to Okabe's final goodbye, Maho tried her best to stop herself from crying. She couldn't cry here. She decided long ago that she'd keep hope in her heart as she watched him go.
よし、そろそろ逃げた人質を捕まえに行くか。
Oh, fuck! I didn't connect those 2 dots! That's what he was doing! When Mayuri said, you're gonna come save me on a second time machine, that's what that was leading up to? Are you kidding? That fucking rules!
よろしくな。
任せろ。こいつに乗せてあるカーブラックホールのトレーサーがあればきっとうまくいくさ。
That was a special device that only the C-193 was equipped with. It was capable of tracing the space-time distortion continuity created by a Care black hole, anywhere from 70 million years in the past to the future. You could call it a time machine tracker. It had been specially designed to allow them to find another time machine. Of course, they had only one reason for making it. To find Mayuri Shina and Suzuha Amane, who had gone beyond the space-time horizon on Tanabata in 2011. They'd guessed that when the battery on the C-204 failed, it had lost the ability to properly time travel. So after finding them at the C-193, Okabe would give them a spare battery and send them back to this time. If possible, he'd go too. If they could do that, this mission would be 100% complete. But doing that with this prototype time machine would be incredibly difficult. Okabe had to have known that. Perhaps he was thinking of sacrificing himself to send Mayuri and Suzuha back to this time.
じゃあ行くよ。
おう。
待ってください。
The last member of the Future Gadget Lab, Kagari Shina, had come running onto the floor.
カガリ、姿が見えないと思ったらどこへ行ってたの？ごめんなさい。これを取ってきたんです。オカリンさん、持っていてください。お守り。
Kagari handed him a faded green Upa keychain.
いいのか？君の大切な宝物だろ？
はい。だからこそです。絶対に返してください。ママと一緒に。
わかった。必ず返すよ。必ずな。
Okabe took the keychain and gave everyone one final firm handshake. Finally, he came to Maho.
元気で。
君もな、クリス。いや、マホ。
ねえ。シュタインズゲートは実在すると思う？マユリさんが死ぬことなく、そしてクリスも犠牲にならない、そんな狭間の世界線が本当にあると思う？
It was the first time she'd asked that in 14 years, since the battle began on that year's Tanabata.
あるさ、絶対に。
Hey, I just saw 75% of the CGs, apparently. Rintaro Okabe, Kyoma Hoyon, answered her with a smile. But his smile seemed so sad that Maho couldn't help but cry.
泣くなよ。
泣いてないわよ。
Maho gave him a hug and swore to herself that she'd never forget his warmth and conviction.
いってらっしゃい。
Okabe nodded a little.
よし、全員下がれ。これよりオペレーションを開始する。なお、作戦名はオペレーションアルタイルとする。
Damn! Damn! He shouted as if trying to raise his own spirits, not just everyone else's. And then he entered the cockpit of the FG-C193 time machine. Maho and the others quickly began the countdown sequence to start the time machine. Since this was a trial run, they needed to record all the data they could get. A low roar enveloped the whole machine. The vibration and noise were so loud that the building shook a little. But as far as Maho could tell, the data was normal. The thick hatch of the time machine was slowly closing. Then there was the sharp sound of it sealing tight, cutting Okabe off from the rest of them forever.
うまくいくわよね。大丈夫。今日は必ずやり遂げるにゃ。
その通りです。不可能を可能にする人ですから。
ああ、それでこそ僕たちのオカリンなわけでね。
オカリンさん。
A rainbow-colored fog started to rise up around the machine. The sound of the engine grew so loud that it threatened to blow out their eardrums, and no one could hear a thing.
Okarin!
Itaru screamed, unable to hold back any longer.
お前の死が確定してるとか、んなことどうでもいい。やっぱここへ戻ってこい。
みんなずっと待ってるから。私も待ってるから。絶対に帰ってきなさい。
As they screamed, the machine started to fade away. And then... just as he'd promised on that distant day, he followed the two Orehimes. With a blinding flash of light, the time machine took off from the year 2025, heading for a time far away, and disappeared.
宇宙に始まりはあるが終わりはない。無限。星にもまた始まりはあるが
What is going on?
力を持って滅びゆく。有限。英知を持つ者こそ最も愚かであるのは歴史からも読み取れる。海に生ける魚は陸の世界を知らない。彼らが英知を持てばそれもまた滅びゆく。人間が光の速さを超えるのは魚たちが陸で生活を始めるよりも滑稽。これはそんな神からの最後通告に抗った者たちによる執念のエピグラフ。
Okay? New opening sequence? Huh? Okay, we're gonna skip this because, again, I feel like that could get me in trouble. Okay. Cleared Vega and Altair. New item was added to CG library. Alright. Alright! Well then, let's go to the just chatting screen. Holy shit, that was an ending! Holy fuck! Alright. I know that a lot of my commentary was just me going, damn! Damn! Over and over again, but like, yeah, like, you guys saw that ending too. Man. Man, what an ending. I feel like that was the most satisfying ending that we've gotten so far. Like, yeah, sure, okay, maybe it's confirmation bias speaking, and, like, maybe that first ending we got was, like, way more conclusive or whatever, but, like, this one hit hard. Like, cut to 2 hours ago and you said, how is this a good ending? Well, yeah, because I didn't know we'd be fucking time leaping. I didn't know that we were actually going to fix that timeline. I thought it was going to be like the bad ending where it's just like, everything is fucked. God, everything is bad. Everything is fucked and sucks forever. Like, I didn't realize that we were going to be fixing things. But I guess that's on me, like, ye of little faith. So yeah, that was fucking awesome, and now I'm really excited to get the rest of the endings. Let me actually pull up, I never pull up this ending guide before the stream starts. I don't know why, because I check it pretty much every stream, but I forget about it. Okay, so we got, if I remember correctly, we so far have gotten, we've gotten the Mayuri ending, we've gotten the bad ending, and then I think we also got recursive Mother Goose. After your first ending, you'll unlock the extra section, which shows which endings you have unlocked. Okay, cool. Oh, wait a second. Hey, so I think I know why this ending turned out the way that it did. So I think that I basically just got, Ukiboshi'd in the sense of, this is the true ending route. Milky Way Crossing is the real ending. So that's why it ended on such a triumphant note. Because I think that once I go back later, like after I get a bunch of the other endings, that might end up being the true ending. Yeah, because I need to unlock the Kurisu ending first. Okay, interesting. Alright. Huh. Very cool. Okay. Well, congrats on leaping through time. Thanks. Fortunately, it didn't give me a migraine headache. But, man, I have no words. That was fucking awesome. So, I guess next time we're gonna be trying to get, let's see. I should try and get the Maho ending first, because it seems like that one and the Kurisu ending are the only two I'm missing. So, if I get the Maho ending first, then the Kurisu ending, then we can circle back around and get the true ending. So we have 3 routes left. And I'm not sure if they're all gonna take as long as the Mayuri ending did. Because, oh boy, I think that was like what, 4 or 5 streams of me going, this time we're getting the ending for sure, guys! I mean, hell, if it wasn't a long weekend this weekend, I would have had to end stream, like, half an hour ago, maybe even an hour ago. So we still wouldn't have been through the ending. But, yeah, I'm so excited to see where the rest of this is going. Like, holy shit. If this is one of the non-canon endings, like, I guess this is leading up to the true ending, so it makes sense. It's very bombastic, but also, like, if this is just a taste of what the true ending is gonna be like, boy, oh boy, we are in for a fucking treat. Anyways, but yeah, I was also mentioning my garden earlier. It's either canon or Canadian end. What do you mean? I feel like this joke is just going straight over my head, I'm sorry. But yeah, so, as mentioned, I have a garden now, and I like it a lot, and it's been making me want to go out on my balcony more. And I probably will still go out there, even though the fireworks have sadly ended, I think. I think they're done for the night. But it was worth it to see that ending, to be honest. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go and enjoy the rest of my long weekend. Do you honestly believe even I know my own jokes? Honestly, touche and also mood. I am also out here just saying shit. But, yeah, I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my long weekend. I just got, whenever I was visiting my family for Mother's Day weekend last weekend, my grandma got me a fuck ton more blackberry wine, so I think I'm gonna crack open a nice bottle of that and drink a glass of that out on my balcony, look at the plants. Maybe someone else will start doing some fireworks, who fucking knows. The sad thing about having my balcony look all nice now is that I did it right at the time when all of the fuck-ass bugs are coming out. And, like, last night I tried to sit out on my balcony for a bit and got just an awful bug bite right on my knee, so it is kind of dampening my spirits a little bit. But also, I will soon be growing another Venus flytrap, so hopefully that issue will resolve itself eventually. Anyways, I am just fucking rambling at this point. And I also probably shouldn't have clapped next to the microphone, I'm sorry. I didn't think that one through. So let's just get into the normal end of stream housekeeping stuff. So if you're new around here, you like what you saw by any chance, you want to see the next endings of Steins Gate Zero and my reactions to them, hit the subscribe button and hit that bell. You'll be notified whenever I go live. You should also follow me on Blue Sky. I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky. I keep meaning to fix that, and then I just fucking don't. Someday, chat, I'll start up stream, and it'll say Blue Sky instead of Twitter, and you will all be so proud of me, for actually finally getting my shit together. But anyways, follow me on Blue Sky, because if I do have to cancel a stream for any reason, it's posted there. If I'm collabing with a friend, it's on there. If I'm just making some shit posts about my day-to-day life, I haven't done that, like, super recently. Not within the past week. I've had some ideas for posts, and then, like, by the time it's actually my break time at work, the thought has left. The thought has left the building. And, then I don't shitpost. But, if I do, you will see it on Blue Sky. And yeah, I should be able to stream next weekend. There shouldn't be any issues with that. If something does come up, though, as mentioned, I'll post it on Blue Sky. So yeah, I think that's just about everything. So, have a good night, everyone. Don't get exploded through time and space. That seems not great for your health. And have some sweet dreams. I will see you all next Sunday. Goodbye!